Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you could join us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a range of topics. Obviously, this week was a national holiday. Screw all the other countries because the 4th of July is an American thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about some patriotic stories or things that revolve around the 4th of July and how some celebrities were reacting to it, how Facebook was trying to ban it, and couple things that you may not have known, and about a couple statistics in regards to how unpatriotic some Americans actually are.
Yep.
We're going to go back to San Francisco, our favorite liberal city.
Not Liberty.
Not Liberty City, definitely not. That's far away from it. We're going to talk about some reactions to the first screening of Ant-Man and the Wasp. We have just a bunch of things going on. We got some potpourri topics, including one story about a man who disappeared for a really long time and suddenly showed up upon his death, and what craziness just surrounded that. So I'm glad that you could join us tonight. This is the Generation Y Conservative Podcast. I'm glad that you could join us tonight. If you're watching right now, you may be watching on Facebook. If you are, hit like and share, as we added that little button right down here. And we go live with the podcast every Thursday night as much as possible to record for the weekend, which it then shows up on KLR and internet radio, which they have graciously put me onto iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and multiple other things. Yeah. It's actually showing up on multiple different podcasting networks and everything now. If you're watching this, like I said, you can tune in. Go over to the Generation Y Conservative Facebook page, hit like, and get notifications so you can know when we go live with the show, and then that way you can interact with us while we're on air. And we encourage that. Mike takes a look at the screen and sees to see if anybody's interacting. Yep. And we'll actually talk back with them or announce what they're saying on the podcast if it's appropriate. Yeah. And
I'm the podcast beep button.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. In regards to interacting with me on the Twitter account, you can actually find me at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end, where you can interact with me all day as I go and interact with other morning shows and stuff like that while I'm working. If we happen to pass out tonight, it is because of heat stroke in this place. And if you see us, if you suddenly tune in and see us laying on the table, please call an ambulance and send them to the Generation Y Conservative bunker. They might know where it is. Also, if you are tuning in, the most important place to go is actually to the YouTube channel. Search for the Generation Y Conservative podcast on YouTube and hit subscribe and the little bell notification so you can be notified when we go and publish videos, whether that's the podcast, bits and pieces from the podcast. They are shareable little bite-sized things of the 2 to 3 hours that we actually shoot. I don't know how the heck we're going to make it through that tonight. But there are those. We do movie reviews. Hopefully the next movie review that we're doing is actually Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that's coming up tonight is the premiere of that. Yep. So it actually looks really good. And then we have a couple more little interesting content things happening this summer, especially if some protests start up. I might throw my hat into the ring down there and see if we can get some interviews to see how smart these protesters are. So we'll see. We might get some behind-the-scenes stuff as well. Anything else before we get into it?
We're ready to go.
Okay, so this week, yesterday, if you're watching right now live, was July 4th. People shoot off fireworks. It's the birth of America, stuff like that. I don't think that people understand the true importance of the 4th of July, though. Yep. What I find fascinating about the 4th of July is the fact that the Declaration of Independence was the final draft was put forth on the 4th of July, right? Everyone didn't get to sign it until the delegates came into Philadelphia over the course of the next couple of days until about July 11th or something like that. But what I find fascinating about this is that the weight of that document, the weight of every signature on there, right? People don't realize the fact that when these men took a stand and said that we can govern ourselves, we don't need a crown, we don't need your taxes, we don't need you ruling us from across the sea, okay? They signed that paper, and they essentially signed their death warrants.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
They were signing that they were traitors to the country, right? And what I find fascinating about that is that these were farmers. They were light politicians in the sense. They were philosophers. Some of them were had military experience and everything. George Washington certainly among those people that. In that crowd, at least among the founding fathers and everything that had military experience. But when you're looking at these men that decided to do this, it was one of the most courageous acts, right?
Yep.
And not only that, to put yourself out there and say, I am this person, here is my name, I am a traitor to the crown, and also, by the way, I realize that you have the most powerful army in the world.
Yeah.
And that you have people already here, soldiers already here, redcoats, and they can hunt me down.
Yeah.
You know, not only were some of these men's houses burned down, actually about 13 or 14 of them or something like that. Their wives and children were killed. They were hunted down. I believe some of them may have been killed. Some of them may have given their lives in regards to this.
Well, the founding fathers that signed the Declaration of Independence were also basically saying that they were putting up their lives, their families, their wealth, their properties. And there's even a story of George Washington where, like, the British were like about to burn down Mount Vernon, and one of his like lieutenants or something basically pleaded with them not to do that, and he got ticked off. He said, "I said that I would put everything that I had like on the line for this cause, even if Mount Vernon would have been torched."
Well, actually, the line that they use is "Our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and here's the other fascinating thing that people don't really realize either is the fact that. It's not like you pick up your phone, hey, we're breaking up with you here, or texting that we're, the best breakup letter in the world is what people say and everything. Right? It wasn't instant. It was actually about 60 more days until the crown found out.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have to deliver it across the sea with sailing boats.
Yeah. No email.
Yeah, and people don't realize it. It's not like, hey, we declared independence and you know it now. You know? I mean, at that point in time, that's why the media, the reporters were so important, and why they were watchdogs of everything was because they had to report that to across the colonies and everything. In regards to that, what's also fascinating is the compromises that we had to come to. In the original, I don't know if it was Constitution or Declaration of Independence, there was grievances against the king. And while most of them were one line, there was actually a paragraph dedicated to specifically talking about the horrors of slavery and the king being such a jerk for allowing slavery to exist. But think about it this way. What's crazy about that is the fact that we had to get all 13 colonies on board, at least the delegates of those, to say, hey, we are all in this together, right? Or it's either we're together or we die alone in this. Because if we go against the crown, we can't fall apart. We can't disassemble in this, right? So, in the end, upon that declaration, most of the people were for splitting off from the king and the crown, right? But there was a large percentage of people that not only were for the crown, but actively worked against their own people here in the colonies.
Yeah, I would totally imagine that there would be a significant percentage of people that had nothing against the crown, you know? And so
they thought they were better off with that.
Yeah,
why change things? You know, and
it's a risk. You know, when you're leaving for centuries this government and society and nation that's been basically going for centuries to start your own thing. Takes cojones.
But you're talking about looking at the founding documents and in everything that was put forth in the founding documents and the words of the founding fathers, that this is truly a blessed land. This was bestowed to us from God. That this was a shining hill on the shining light on the hill for countries. This was the time of modern warfare.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the British would line up. I mean, that was the way of doing things, was lining up, taking your shot, backing away, the next line coming forward, shooting, right? And flanking into these positions and everything. And that was the old way of doing things. And this was, in order to beat the greatest army, we had to get creative. We had to take guerrilla warfare tactics, you know, and split up and flank in smaller groups and do these things. One of our favorite series was on AMC. It ended now. Was Turn about Washington's first spies and everything, and it's just amazing. And you look at that
pretty
stuff,
historically accurate show.
Absolutely, it was really crazy. Now some of the relationships were not very accurate, but when you look, there were some parts that we were sitting there like that could not have been true, and you research it and you're like, holy crap, that's true. You know, and it's just amazing the kinds of things that they came up with. To one of the first submarines that they built was like a pedal thing that in like an egg shape, you know, to go in the New York harbor to get across into behind enemy lines and pop up there and everything. The
other show that I wanted to see, I haven't gone around, but I saw it was airing during Independence Day, was Sons of Liberty. Did you guys ever have a chance to see that? It was a 3-part miniseries. So it kind of chronicles the whole thing too. So I want to check that out.
Yeah, but here's the other crazy thing. We've gone from that point in time to now being the superpower, right? We have exceeded the crown and everything, and we have led. There's no other country like the United States. You know, if not for the United States, China's communism, the Soviet Union, certainly Hitler in Germany and everything, and all these communist powers encroaching from all different directions and everything. It was America that stopped those things. You know, certainly Winston Churchill, the bulldog of politicians at the time of World War II, stood his ground. When you look at the Churchill movie and everything, they did not want to stand with him. They thought that he was a jerk.
They wanted
that he
to
didn't
just
know what
surrender.
he was doing. That, you know, that was, he looked at Dunkirk and he said, we need to help these guys. You know, and they were about to give up on everything. So Churchill stands apart from the rest of the people during World War II and everything. But it was America that, they always say it woke the sleeping giant. You know, when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, it was the needle that woke the sleeping giant. But it's always been America that's been there for other countries, like it or not, for all the atrocities that we have committed, for things that have happened to between slavery and what happened with the Indians and everything. You know, you could go and you can say that we wiped out the Indians and how horrible that was. But if you're going to say that and you refuse to look across at Europe and see that for an endless amount of time, tribes and countries and nations were conquering each other all the time, and that's how you acquired land. That was the spread of art. That was the influence of art into other cultures, and why you see Moorish arches and everything showing up in Italy. You know, all these things that coincide with each other. You're like, how could that seems like art from another culture? Well, yes, because those cultures conquered each other and spread across Europe into their own things, right? And that's what happened. Like, I'm sorry about it was now indigenous peoples. So, you know, those things happened, but there are so much misinformation out there on the founding this country and where we came from and how it happened and everything. To say that this was not a Judeo-Christian founding of America is completely asinine when you look at the fact that the Pilgrims specifically came here for the ability to read the Bible themselves, to pick up that Bible and not have the king tell the preacher what to say to the people. You know what I mean? And they escaped to come over here to look at the Bible, to read the Bible themselves, to follow God's word themselves instead of being told what they're allowed to hear from the Bible, right? And all the founding fathers, you find God mentioned throughout everything. Thomas Paine, I think people use as an example of being an atheist and everything, but he even responded to one of those things back then when Benjamin Franklin, I think, and someone else said, "Why are you writing these things about God not existing?" And he wrote back to them, "That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we are basically shutting out God." And that we shouldn't be, and he cleared himself of that. But you don't learn these things in history. So it's just amazing because America has been that superpower in the world that has led many other countries out of darkness. If not for America, we would be living under one nation or another's communist rule.
Yep.
You know, and countries have tried to imitate. Often imitated, never duplicated, I guess you could say, and there's no place like America.
Yeah,
so,
and the prime reason for that is because they don't have no matter how much they try to implement any kind of system like America or any kind of capitalistic system or anything like that, they still don't have the same inalienable rights, the Bill of Rights that we have.
Yeah, the Constitution, which is, when it comes to the Constitution, the fact that our Constitution is different from every other Constitution out there in that it doesn't give you your rights. It tells you what the government is not allowed to do you. And that is why politicians are constantly, I believe on both sides a lot of times, but certainly I see it more on the left, trying to change or amend or... what is it called when you take out an amendment?
Oh, I don't know. It's escaping me as well.
Yeah, it's like they want to do away with the Second Amendment and everything. The fact is they tried to repeal. They tried to repeal these things because those are specifically there to limit their power over you, right? And this is a government for and by the people, whereas almost every other government out there is completely set up in an opposite fashion. It's like, there is no freedom of speech elsewhere in the world. You go up to Canada, you think you have freedom of speech?
You don't.
You do not.
You can be jailed for saying something that the government doesn't agree with.
Absolutely. And it's just amazing that people don't understand how blessed we are in America to be here, despite some things that may have gone wrong in the past. America always bounces back. It always gets up. It always fights back. And it gets to challenge our mistakes and become better because of those mistakes. And we continue to push that forward. And it's just amazing that we...
It's like all family talk.
I know, that we end up in this type of position. So anyway, all that being said, the 4th of July is not just a time to shoot off fireworks.
Scare dogs all across the country.
I mean, not only that, like I said, it's the start of guerrilla warfare and modern tactics and everything, leading to the greatest military in the world, all the branches that we have, right? And certainly you have to think about today's military and the vets and everything, because they have all been born of that great military that was around at that point in time. So
for sure.
Happy 4th of July week. I'm a day late.
Happy $4th of July.
But we're gonna actually end the
happy Independence Month, since the Crown didn't find out about it for another 60 days.
Exactly.
And not everyone signed it till the 11th, so this is like a chunk of time.
We're just gonna keep on celebrating America
all year round.
Yeah, exactly. Screw it. One of my favorite memes that was floating around, though, one was today, the 4th of July is being celebrated by a bunch of people that don't realize there was armed citizens that...
Andrew shared that.
Yeah, that was one of them. And then
this day only exists because of armed citizens.
And then my other favorite one, because you know how much I hated that royal wedding, was his wife saying Happy 4th of July, and that was awkward.
That's hilarious.
So...
Oh, man.
Anyway, my point being, we're actually going to end the night with some of the stories revolving around the 4th of July and, Facebook actually banning certain posts in regards to the Declaration of Independence. Something that's set forth that led to the Constitution and the First Amendment and protection of free speech, and then they actually ban it. So, go figure.
Maureen, my wife's aunt, says Happy Independence Month.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maureen. Okay, so let's get into some entertainment news first. This is going to be like a mixed bag of stories that we find pretty interesting. Ant-Man and the Wasp. So probably the first Ant-Man was one of my favorite Marvel movies. It had a great sense of humor to it and everything. Well, first reactions are coming out, and they're looking pretty good. Actually, one guy on Twitter, Brandon Davis, said Ant-Man and the Wasp is strong on the humor, amazing on visual effects, creative in size manipulation, and clever in its villains. Great movie. Another person said Ant-Man and the Wasp is really fun. If you like the first one, you'll like this one as well. In my opinion, it's actually better. Evangeline Lilly for the win. Can't go wrong with Evangeline Lilly.
Yep.
Ant-Man and the Wasp is a lot of fun. It's at its best when it's almost an over-the-top silly comedy, less so when it's about the comic booky villain-driven moments, some fantastic miniature and maxixture action sequences. And this is pretty obvious. Real Micah Pena steals the show again.
Yeah.
So he was hilarious in the first one with his explanation of how the heist went down and everything.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how if they are going to actually, kind of tie in Avengers, because this is supposed to take place before Infinity War. So, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm guessing maybe during the credit scenes, there'll probably be something. I
think it might end with some of the characters having something happen to them that happened in the Avengers movie without giving it away.
Is there anyone on the planet who hasn't seen Avengers yet?
Know. One guy used Movie Pass, I think, to see it over 100 times or 1,000 times or something like that.
Movie Pass for the win.
Yeah. So here's, according to ABC News, this story is absolutely insane. A man who stole a dead child's ID was a World War II vet who vanished in the 1960s. Okay? So here's what happened. A man who authorities say stole an 8-year-old's identity and used his name for decades has been finally identified as a World War II veteran who vanished in the 60s. Authorities started investigating the mystery man when a man who appeared to be Joseph Chandler committed suicide in Eastlake, Ohio in 2002. U.S. Marshal Peter Elliott said at a news conference on last Thursday. It took a week to find his body, which at that point was decomposed. Authorities learned that Chandler lived a solitary life. His coworkers thought he was odd, isolated, and eccentric. So here's basically what happened. I could go through this whole story. It's really weird and everything. All these coworkers were working with this guy who identified himself as Chandler, right? Mm-hmm. And he was odd. He didn't interact with people. He kept to himself. Apparently, he always kept a packed suitcase. Okay? Very odd.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing. You know
Red
what I mean?
flag.
Yeah. So he always packed his suitcase. They find his decomposed body, right? They start investigating. They find out that this isn't actually a Chandler. And when they investigated, Chandler was a boy who died when he was 6, way back in the 70s or something like that, right? This guy stole the social security number of this 8-year-old boy who died in a car accident in Texas in December of 1945. Okay, so it was in the 70s.
Right when he got back from the war, apparently.
Yeah. So he just up and left his family one day. Yep. This World War II vet. No one heard from him for 9 years. He kept completely off the grid. No one can talk to him now or anything and find out why or what happened or anything, what he was doing, where he was for those 9 years. 9 years later, after leaving his family, he somehow gets this social security of this boy who died in a car accident in 45, right? And he starts living as this guy under that identity and lived until this time. Family doesn't know. They put out missing person reports for him when he disappeared and everything. And here he turns up after all this time, dead, under a different identity with a suitcase, had $82,000 in the bank account with no next of kin. And that's what led to this whole investigation.
Where's this money going to go? Yeah.
It's unbelievable. What a story. And you can't find out what the heck was going on with the guy because he's dead.
Yeah, you can't ask him what.
And he wouldn't talk to people. He didn't share his story with people, obviously, and everything. All you're left with is this investigation that led to all these different little crazy clues all over the place that eventually led back to a stolen identity and a family that's thought he was dead for all this time.
No.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the fact
They've been able to interview the people who knew him as Chandler, and they just said he kept to
coworkers
himself
stuff,
and
that
didn't
he was
really...
just an eccentric, odd guy.
Yeah.
You know? It's just pretty insane.
Man.
So, last week we talked about...
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, sorry. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a story that was more local to us in East Penn School District in Emmaus, that LGBT movies were shown against parents' wishes, or at least shown without going to the parents first and asking permission or whatever it may be. And we tied that in with the Netflix animated series and the other animated series that was coming out and everything. We kind of bundled that together as far as, like, parents need to be aware of what the heck is going on, right? And we talked about how you're there to educate.
Yeah.
You're there to teach the subjects, and everything else, like your social issues and the social agenda that you're trying to push, is off the table.
Yeah.
Like, if we're declining in educational stats, if we're listed as number 27th in the world in education standards and everything, obviously we have a lot more stuff to focus on right now than this, you know?
Yeah.
Now, apparently some more information has come to light. I didn't know at the time when we actually did this that it was a student project or led by the Gay Straight Allegiance or Alliance or something like that, society or something like that in the school district, and that was like a student project that had a 4-part video series as an anti-bullying against the LGBT community. You and I got into a discussion that apparently ended after I responded.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
Civility just doesn't it doesn't spark much response, I guess.
I guess. And she apparently was a teacher that we were responding to.
Oh, I don't know. I looked at her profile and it seemed like you're probably one of our friend's classmates. That's what it seemed.
Oh, well, so
she was saying too, she can't wait to debate him, you know, because she's going to college for political science, and I wanted to tell Andrew, like, send me, I want to see that debate.
Yeah, I want to see that video. Obviously, we're speaking of Andrew Oliveira, who actually showed up on the podcast a couple weeks ago now, was a speaker at the Second Amendment rally that I was a speaker at as well. But she was getting into it, and we said, you know, her point was, hey, this was an anti-bullying video. What do you have against anti-bullying videos?
If you noticed too earlier, I seemed a little more abrasive, probably.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, aside from her comments like that were just responses just in conversation, which I think is great, you know, she reposted Andrew's post with his quote and everything on her page. And her caption was basically saying, like, you know, I am all for debating people with different opinions, but I refuse to debate anyone if it's coming from a bigoted blah blah. And that's kind of what set me off, because this has nothing to do with being like, it's painting conservatives as bigots and homophobes and all this stuff, which is not the case at all. And my main argument that kind of like set me more towards an aggressive response. But my point was, in school, like, we have to leave the raising of our kids to parents, and schools are there to teach math and science and reading and social studies and history, which apparently they're not teaching history anymore. So that was like my main point, and she was like, well, this was during homeroom and it was an anti-bullying thing, and she's like, are you think they're being indoctrinated to being gay? And I'm like, I said, of course not. Right. No, I don't think you can be turned gay or straight. I think you either are or you aren't. There's nothing wrong with either or. It's just that in schools, is this a place for this in schools? And
even with our Christian backgrounds and everything, and that we tout on the podcast, have we ever said anything demeaning about someone for being a homosexual? No,
I don't think that...
We disagree with the way they try to force things on other people.
Yeah, and it's more from a place of, like, you know, they want to be left alone, but they don't leave us alone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
In regards to that, like, I am even like friends with, and just
absolutely,
you know, So it's just
until they defriend you.
Until they defriend you, yeah. But that's more leftists than gay people. So
no, and here's my point too with that. Before we actually get into an update on the story, are you against LGBT bullying?
Of course, I'm against any kind of bullying.
Exactly, and that was my overall point to her was, listen, I'm against bullying of any kind. You should not be bullying people, especially in a school situation. But it's also understandable that bullying isn't a new concept.
Yeah.
Right? It's always been there.
It always will be
there. It always will be there.
Yep.
It's not changing despite what you think you're doing.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, it's evolved, if you want to say.
With social media.
With social media. You don't know what's going on now because it's actually showing up on a computer screen instead of in person, and parents can't keep track of that or see the interactions. Beyond that, bullying of any kind is not appropriate, and I will speak out against it. But if that's the case, if we can agree between the left and the right that bullying is bad, then let's keep it general, right? Why do you have to specifically get into whatever happened there?
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to know what happened there, apparently, because the school district is refusing to release those videos to parents with a right-to-know request.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's insane.
So that is what the update is this week. It says, as the school district refuses to permit parents to see LGBT videos students were forced to watch. This is coming from the Daily Wire, so we're actually making news in the
international scene.
International scene, yeah. It says in a Pennsylvania school district, after roughly 2,800 students were forced to watch LGBT videos during LGBT Unity Week in April, parents and conservative activists asked the district to provide links to the videos so they could see what their children had watched. The answer they got was no. As the Christian Post noted of Principal Kate Keary's of Emmaus High School, where the videos were shown, despite parents' requests to see the videos, Keary stated that the school board solicitor has advised that these videos cannot be sent to you because they are part of a student project. In the June 22nd letter, attorney Richard Mast threatened a lawsuit under the state's right-to-know law if the school didn't cough up the links to the videos and all emails sent to the principal or the school's GSA advisor revolving around the issue. Mast wrote, it does not pass the straight face test for the district to claim it need not provide parents with the actual video links, although the district required more than 2,800 students to view these videos with no prior notice to their parents and no opportunity to opt out. This is a gross violation of parental rights. The links to the videos are public records, notwithstanding claimed selection of the videos by a ostensibly student-led gay-straight alliance as part of an alleged student project. It would be convenient indeed if school districts could bypass all public record laws and parental notice and consent requirements for objectionable content by finding a willing student group to select the material for them. My point being to this one, it's time for some people to step up and run for the school board in Emmaus.
Yeah, for sure.
It's time to wipe those people out that are allowing this to be blocked. Because it's a public school.
Yeah.
And that means that stuff should be public.
Yeah.
Okay?
And when you take into account, okay, it's a school, it's a class project for certain students. When you or I ever had a class project, was it sent to all the parents? No. But was it broadcast to the entire school?
Forcibly.
No. Yeah. So that's the point.
Yeah.
So if it's something that's being forcibly broadcast to the entire school without any prior notice or consent or anything like that, then if parents weren't saying, we want to fight against it yet, they just want to see it.
Yeah.
Why won't you show it? Because maybe it would come out that this is maybe a little bit more than just an anti-bullying video.
Oh, I think that's exactly what's going to show up from it.
Yeah.
Couple things need to change in that school district in East Penn. Right now, people need to step up and actually start running for the school board and make a change there. Any administration officials that were involved that are actively trying to block parents from seeing these things need to get kicked out on their ass. Not their ass kicked out.
Yeah.
Because they're actively working against parents in the district.
Yeah. We're not Maxine Waters. We don't want to call for violence for people we disagree
I'm not
with.
calling for violence. I'm calling for a change in leadership there.
Don't bother them at restaurants. Just get them out of there.
Yeah. And then they need to find a new solicitor. Because this guy is obviously giving bad legal advice. Now, along the lines of legal advice, we have talked multiple times that it is a bad idea to sue the school district over anything.
Yep.
Because they don't learn their lesson, because these school officials, the school board, the solicitor, everyone else, they don't pay a dime.
Yep.
They get to keep their jobs. They don't pay a dime. What you end up doing is suing the taxpayers.
Yep.
And when you sue a school district, their taxes go up. You're suing your neighbors, essentially. And those people get away with doing it. And what do they get their name in some bad press for a little while or something like that? That's about it.
Yeah, but now in the 24-hour news cycle, it's forgotten about.
Oh, yeah, you get to keep your cushy job. Like, I'm sorry, a lot of these... When I was on the school board, I have a problem with the way that the salary level that some of the administration people get paid, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think
we're not talking teachers.
No.
We're talking...
administration, yeah. And there's...
The bureaucrats.
Here, listen. The school board, the administrator don't like the teachers don't like the administrators, and both of them don't like the school board.
Yep.
And the school board's just trying to do everything in a thankless job that you don't even get paid for, okay?
Yep.
But I thought our administration officials were doing fantastic, for the most part. I had a problem with our elementary school teacher who got in the middle of an argument and said that she wasn't taking sides, but then hugged the other parents on the other side and gave a complete S show.
Yeah,
I thought, in regards to bias, right? Mm-hmm. But our administration people, superintendents, assistant superintendent, the treasurer, and everybody else did a fantastic job. Still didn't agree with their salaries, though. Okay, we were talking about Lance Hint, an actual bully down in Texas in Katy ISD school district, who was caught doing multiple bullying things when he was younger and denied, and then finally resigned, was given a golden parachute, basically. And he was making, what, 700-something thousand a year as the superintendent of the Katy ISD school district, right? They get paid ridiculous sums.
So almost double what the president of the United States makes, and they're both public service jobs. That's insane.
And that just goes to show you the waste in government.
Yep.
Right? And how our funds are misused and mistreated and everything.
Yep.
So it just gets to be ridiculous. But the fact of the matter is that, okay, so they get some bad press. Oh, sorry, it sucks that my name is in the bad press for a couple days. I guess I'll just fall back on my $700,000 a year salary and wait this out.
Yeah.
They don't learn anything.
Then Trump will tweet something and everyone will forget about me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Stormy Daniels, kids supposedly separated at the border, and whatever other issue comes up, and attention is gone in a breath anyway.
Yep.
Anything in relation to this? People talking?
Nope. Just some highs and hellos.
Okay. So, Wal-Mart has pulled a controversial Impeach 45 t-shirt from its website after harsh feedback. Walmart has pulled this is all according to Fox News. Sorry for any liberals watching that I'm actually quoting the one conservative source of media on TV. Walmart has pulled the controversial anti-Trump Impeach 45 apparel from its website after receiving harsh feedback online. The outcry sparked a hashtag boycott Walmart trend on Twitter as users expressed their distaste for the chain promoting the impeachment of President Trump, echoing some congressional Democrats. Who would that be? Impeach 45! Oh my God. That was my Maxine Waters impression. Yeah. Ryan Fournier, chairman of the group Students for Trump, was one of the first to discover Walmart was selling the clothing item. According to the International Business Times, he asked the company in a tweet, "What kind of message are you trying to send?" And you could just go through here and see all these different things. Now, what I thought was pretty interesting was Franklin Graham responded and created an alternative to Walmart's Impeach 45 shirts, and came up with one that said, "Pray for 45."
Yeah.
So a good one for a religious leader, I guess. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, though. In our church, when Obama... First of all, we live in a conservative area, okay? Despite some crazy crap that's happened that's very liberal.
Yeah.
We live in a conservative area. Our church is specifically the way it is because they split from the UCC over decisions they made and stayed true to God's word, okay? And that's why we are there, because it goes by God's word and doesn't say, you know what? We're going to pick and choose what we feel is right with Jesus. You know what I mean? It's, do you follow the Bible? I don't know. Something tells me that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, when Obama was in office, nothing bad was ever said in our church about Obama. But one thing that was said in the time of prayer every Sunday: pray for our Congress, pray for our president, pray for our Supreme Court, pray for local leaders, no matter who they are, pray for them. Pray for their safety.
Yeah.
You don't want a JFK situation with anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there is a level of incivility now that certainly we haven't seen in our lifetime.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and I don't believe I refuse to agree that this was started with Trump.
No, this was way before.
This has been boiling over for quite a long time, and a lot of those fingers point back to the Obama administration as the final nail or final wedge that was pushed between the rich and the poor, the cops and the black community, the you name it, men and women, you know? I mean, it's just like everything that you could do. And I personally believe and have always said that, you know, the old saying that a lot of people will tell you, especially the good old people, you know, the golden generation and everything, is that they always say that, you know, my parents said never to bring up religions and politics with other people, right? Yeah. I completely disagree with that statement. I believe that the reason why you're told not to bring up religion and politics with people is because if you actually start talking to someone that may have a different opinion than you, you're going to find out very quickly that you have more in common with them than you have of a differing opinion. Yeah. Right? And the more we realize that we're on the same page with the majority of things, that we can identify the same problems, it just may be that we have different solutions, you know, and we can see each other as human beings, that the people in Washington start to lose their power. Yeah. Those wedges are politically, strategically wedged between us to split us into voting groups so that we hate each other and we spit vile rhetoric at each other to keep us from actually entertaining each other's opinions and ideas and solutions so that they can divvy us into voting blocks. Yep. So I completely disagree with the fact that we shouldn't be talking about religions and politics. I think that that's one thing that we need to learn to start doing again. I mean, that is, you know, you look at Greek culture and the Romans and stuff like that, that they would gather in a public area to talk about that stuff. As a matter of fact, the term idiot comes from that. They would gather in large groups, and the people that would stand in the back and want nothing to do with it and play like gambling games and not pay attention to the politics being spoken were called idiots. Yep. It was an actual Greek term, idiot. Someone that was not interested in the political discussion being at hand. Yep. It's a little factoid. Write that one down.
There you
go. So,
gonna learn more history on this show than in high school nowadays.
This is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. Okay, so I found this story actually pretty interesting. The cast and crew, it says the cast and crew walked off of a Roe v. Wade film after finding out that it was pro-life. I didn't see anything about the cast and crew because apparently actors John Voight, Stephen Baldwin, and Stacey Dash star in the film, and its co-executive producer is Dr. Almeida King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King. Yep. Who has shown up at multiple. She's very pro-life and has spouted about that message and pro-conservative and religious messages in regards to MLK.
Sure.
That the
Reverend Martin Luther King.
Look, the guy wasn't without his faults.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Is.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and he would be the first one to tell you that probably. But when you're using a historical figure that is unable to speak for themselves, brought into modern times to promote your message, you better be sure that you're preaching the right message on that, right? I mean, like I said, I think we talked about my one client who had the library of books with JFK all over and everything. I said, well, I find that fascinating. He said, I'm very liberal. I don't know how you can look at history and be a Republican. I can tell you that history exists because of Republican ideas, or at least conservative principles and everything. You know, look at the civil rights, the women's suffrage and everything. The majority of Democrats voted against that stuff. And somehow the narrative got flipped during Lyndon B. Johnson and stuff like that. Point being, they had JFK on the bookshelf. I said, I find it fascinating that you can be a liberal and actually have JFK as someone that you admire. Oh, absolutely. He was the best of his time. Well, do you think that someone that was pro-life, Catholic, and pro-gun, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Pro-Second Amendment. And did what he did during the Cuban Missile Crisis, which a Democrat would never do today. Do you think someone like that would be able to be elected today in the Democrat Party? And the liberal client of mine said, no, actually, I don't think he could be.
Yeah, you're a hero.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know, right? And it just, when you take into account JFK, and you look at Amy Coney Barrett, who's being considered for the Supreme Court, and how she was attacked by Feinstein and all them because of how Catholic she was.
That sounds sexist.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. Feinstein's like infamous quote from that was, "The dogma is strong within you."
Oh,
you
I
know?
heard about that. Yeah,
like, so I mean, what would Feinstein say about JFK? You know, it's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, if these historical figures could come into the modern day and see what's going on, it would be amazing to hear the words from these people. You know what I mean? Point being, there's actually a Roe v. Wade film being made, and they showed up to multiple locations in Toulon University's newspaper. They found out that it had a pro-life perspective and shut it down. Multiple places that they showed up to, they started shutting it down, not allowing it to be filmed. And they were filming in secrecy because they knew that they would get shut down. And it's like I said, the evil forces are at work when a message about being pro-life is being shut down, when you can't even allow that opinion to be heard. You know?
Yep.
And Roe of Roe v. Wade, which isn't her real name, but the woman who argued that she should be able to have the right to have an abortion, is a huge pro-life advocate today and completely regrets what happened back then. And it's all the decision in Roe v. Wade is based on very shoddy legislative action. Like a lot of liberal politicians will even tell you that decision, it's a miracle for them that it even went through. I hate to even use the word miracle because there's no way that.
So are we going to talk about the Supreme Court at all? Like,
I do have a Supreme Court story in regards to a decision with the unions coming up.
Oh, yeah. Well, in regards to, like, the left right now is freaking out about the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
Number one thing is Roe v. Wade possibly being overturned. Yeah. And I was listening to Ben Shapiro, and he was saying how there are some leftists out there saying that there's going to be 50 plus District of Columbia civil wars, like, being, fought over Roe v. Wade. And he was like, first off, that's 51. Just do the math right. Secondly, he was like, there will not be. He's like, does anyone really think there will be a civil war in California, whether abortion will still be legal if Roe v. Wade gets overturned? No. It will still be legal in California. Absolutely. Does anyone think that there will be a civil war in Alabama if Roe v. Wade gets overturned? No, there will not be a civil war. No. The majority of people in most states believe pretty firmly one way or the other. So this is not going to outlaw abortion. It would just send it back to the states.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Very simply, an overturn of that would send it back to the states, a very federalist approach to everything. And it would allow your state to choose how they want to approach that type of subject in regards to abortion, is it illegal or not. And the citizens of that state get to choose, which is part of the reason why the states are split up the way that they are, and it's not one whole thing. Right? Is the ability to move from state to state based on the preferences that you want, the environmental conditions, the laws and policies that exist in that state, and how they approach these different laws, right? If you're pro Second Amendment, you're certainly not going to want to live in parts of New York, California, anywhere. Anywhere on the left coast, you know what I mean? And it's just amazing that there is this, the left always talks about the conservative movement being fear-mongers, right? As soon as Kennedy announced that he was retiring from the Supreme Court, it was an immediate, we got to stop the Republicans from getting someone onto the court. It didn't even, the level of arrogance and ignorance mixed with arrogance that came into the reporting on this from the left is nothing less than mind-boggling, yet you're not surprised, right? At least in regards to who was Obama's pick, Garland.
Yeah, Merrick Garland. Okay. That's the thing they're always pointing to. Well, before the election, the Republicans said we shouldn't have a lame duck president put in a...
Completely different story. Yeah. It's actually a completely different story.
It's not a presidential it's not a presidential election coming
exactly.
up.
Number
it's
one,
totally different.
Beyond that, actually, the first thing I want to point out is the fact that at least we waited until Merrick Garland was picked to say we didn't want him as a Supreme Court justice. They're saying they want to block whoever. They don't even have someone to point to. They literally said there's a lot of people that are. I want to see video of this too. I guarantee you there's going to be leftists protesting on the steps of the Supreme Court on Monday when his decision is announced with signs that have a blank space. That then they quickly write in who they're protesting.
Blank.
We refuse to accept blank for the Supreme Court justice.
Right.
You know, and they're going to leave it blank and then quickly write it in without doing any research on the cases that they did as another previous judge or anything like that. They have no reason to protest right now, except for the fact that Trump gets to make a pick.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that we have Harry Reid to thank for the fact that you can't filibuster
don't even
now.
See it.
Yep. And you know, the whole thing that happened back when Obama was president, you know, I think you needed 60 votes because the filibuster would kick in if you just had 51 or more. The Republicans were blocking everything with a filibuster. And Harry Reid basically passed through to get rid of the filibuster. And Mitch McConnell actually said at the time, you will regret this probably sooner than you think.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harry Reid.
And I hate to give Mitch McConnell credit because I don't like him. You know, if there's people I want to get rid of, it's... I just say this because he's dying, but John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Speaker Ryan, Susan Collins up in Maine is horrible. And there's a couple other ones too, but they're horrible to represent the Republicans in Congress. They're bad apples, right? But the fact of the matter is, like you said, they keep on comparing the election this year to the election of that time. Well, you're talking about a president in Obama who was leaving office, and you're supposed to be putting in someone that's going to... First of all, the point of a Supreme Court justice is to interpret the Constitution, and you don't see that, especially with... who's a Hispanic lady?
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know her name.
Yeah.
But Ruth, I mean...
Ginsburg. Here's the thing about Ginsburg. She has a very liberal leaning, but her and Scalia, before he died, were actually really good friends. And he always said that she had a different point of view. Sotomayor. Sotomayor. She rules and judges based on feelings. If you read her cases... and the way she rules on things... It's all based on feelings, okay? Not based on the Constitution and how you filter that through the Constitution. It's ridiculous.
And that's one of the biggest things with this pick now is you want someone who takes the document literally and interprets it, you know, whatever, not based on right or left, or we're not trying to basically push our ideologies through the Supreme Court to just make a blanket law for the land. They are supposed to look at the case and just say, is this constitutional or not? You know? And that's not the Supreme Court.
Someone
actually,
like Gorsuch.
The Supreme Court, he's an amazing pick. But the Supreme Court basically has become a lot more powerful than it was ever intended to be. You know? And it's used as a tool to push mostly leftist ideas through into law for the country, where it's not supposed to be that. It's not supposed. I think, like in the Federalist Papers, it's even like said over and over again that the judiciary branch is like the least powerful branch.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, so it's but
it is there as a countermeasure or balance.
Absolutely.
Of the powers and everything. Leslie said Sotomayor. I thought of it before you said it. But thank you anyway. So, yes, in regards to the election, the people should have a voice on who the pick is, right? And in Obama's case, it's a dangerous situation when a president is leaving office and has nothing to fear. In regards to the people's reaction. To who they pick, right? So the people had their choice in him. They voted him in for his whole term. He had the opportunity to appoint anyone he wanted. But when you're within months and specifically in the primaries and everything, you should leave it to the people, okay? In this case, though, that was for a president, okay? And the president gets to pick who the Supreme Court justice is. In this case, with midterm elections, you're talking about senators and stuff. They don't get to pick.
They don't get
they
to
get
choose.
to go through hearings and confirm. But in the end, he will appoint who he wants to appoint. You know what I mean? And because of Harry Reid
getting rid of the filibuster,
he made it even easier for Trump to actually push that through.
He made his bed. Now he's got to lay in it. You know, so it's crazy.
Unbelievable. Okay. Again, pretty proud of myself. But the San Francisco video that I did by myself for one time has reached around 10,000 views.
Got to point out that it was by yourself. Whatever.
Someone had an opportunity to be here. You didn't show up. Anyway, we keep on going back to San Francisco. How many times over the last couple of months have we talked about San Francisco and just the ridiculousness surrounding it, especially with the homeless population, the drug situation? Nancy Pelosi as a representative, for crying out loud. Well, that app that we talked about in the past when we were at your house. I'm sorry, in your studio. Studio.
Bunker 2.0.
Yes. I forget what the app is called. Do you remember what the app is called?
Poop Finder?
Let me just look it up real quick. Well, there was an app that was tracking people on a map
app. Yeah, I'll look it up. You keep going.
Where they were actually, San Francisco residents were like, it's almost like on Waze, right? When you see a cop, you hit the cop button to show to warn people and everything. Well, they were hitting the poop button that there was a public poop sighting, right? Last week, over 16,000 reports and complaints came in on that app of feces sightings in San Francisco. 16,000 in 1 week.
That's insane.
Okay? And it's saying here, many of the complaints also connect the fecal matter to vagrants and homeless encampments, a sight all too common now across California. Users can geotag the location in question and also provide photos to support their claim. Crap. Homeless encampment is this is what someone said. Homeless encampment is blocking sidewalk and creates a health hazard with trash and feces, one user wrote. Please move them and send a cleaning crew. Sidewalk is impassable, forcing pedestrians into the street. Another individual wrote, homeless individuals sleeping along Funston between Clement and Geary.
Human wasteland. That's what it's called. Gosh.
Observed homeless people shooting up at 5 p.m. on Monday, July 2nd. Lots of feces and garbage in the area. Please clean up area and see if homeless individuals need services. Strong smell of feces on Post, on block between Cedar and Post. There must be a ton of it somewhere nearby. So, geotagging poop in San Francisco.
How does this come up on the map? So we can show the people.
So, okay, so you can actually see, this is the map here.
San Francisco's right in the middle.
The blob right there is of crap. Is actually showing all the reports, and it's kind of like the storm, like the darkest area is the
right
most concentration. So what area is that in? If you go up there, see where the poop seems to be concentrated. You might have to zoom out a little bit. There we go. The fact of the matter, there we go. It's just outlining the streets. Look at that. Oh, there's like a bad area, and what's that smell?
Asian Art Museum, UC Hastings College of Law. It's pretty bad over there. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a concentration. Heavy chance of poop in San Francisco. So, you have all this reported. Then, this happened. A 20-pound bag of human waste is found in a San Francisco street. So 20 pounds of poop in a trash
It's
bags.
like some good Samaritan was trying to clean up and they're just like, screw this.
No, it's so bad. It says the waste is largely linked to thousands of people living in the city without housing and without access to public restrooms. And now, as HotAir.com's John Sexton reports, the disgusting nature of some San Francisco streets is now starting to have significant economic impact. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Tourism is a big business in San Francisco, bringing in $9 billion a year to the city's businesses. Now a major medical convention expected to bring in 15,000 visitors and drop $40 million in less than a week has decided it will stop bringing its members to the city by the bay because they don't feel safe walking the streets. It's the first time that we have had an out-and-out cancellation over the issue, and this is a group that has been coming here every 3 or 4 years since the 1980s, said the president and CEO of San Francisco Travel. They said that they are committed to this year and to 2023, but nothing in between or nothing thereafter. After that, they told us they are planning to go elsewhere. I believe it's Los Angeles. Wow, they're going to regret their second decision. I think my sister used to live in Los Angeles, and my parents went out to visit her. And the type of people that are there, one guy was holding a sign that said, "Save Mother Earth, kill yourself." So,
yeah,
go you, California, just holding those principles up, and Yeah. So there's a 20-pound bag of crap. What better way to symbolize San Francisco than trying to fit 20 pounds of crap in a 10-pound bag?
Right. Oh, my God.
I mean, what do we keep on saying? Nancy Pelosi is out there all the time talking about how we need to be accepting, open the border, allow all these people to come through, and yet there are thousands, tens of thousands of homeless people in her district that they are refusing to take care of, that are just destroying San Francisco.
Yep.
And they can't even take care of their own people. We talked about this last week. You look at San Francisco, you look at Los Angeles, Seattle, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, New York City, right? Trenton, Baltimore.
Yep.
All these cities are run by liberal politicians for decades, and they're falling apart. They're literally assholes.
Yeah, right.
What they don't like us saying about other countries where people are apparently fleeing from to come here.
Yeah.
Right. And you have people on the left in this country that are cursing out Donald Trump for his policies, and refuse to look at the liberally run cities that are enacting their liberal policies that they actually want
For decades.
That is showing a failed economic model that can't even take care of its own citizens, let alone people coming in. As a matter of fact, the people coming in illegally
they're taking care of better than their own citizens.
It's unbelievable. All right. We got anything going on there? I have notifications, so.
Yeah. Just, people saying hi, people joining. Joanne,
my mom.
Yeah, she said that she told you not to talk about politics with your clients.
I am a master at talking about
integrating
politics.
but still keeping it civil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because look, a lot of my clients are liberal. Look, I have a couple lesbian clients that said they would vote for me for president.
There you go.
And I looked at them and I said, "No, you would not." But you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
The area I'm working, very liberal, right?
Yep.
Lesbian clients, right?
Yep.
We got into a political conversation because of them saying, "Chris, we thought you were a scam artist at first." Because the type of job I do, people think is a scam, but it's not a scam. And we are actually, it's a blessing to people. Okay. She specifically said to me, "We thought you were a scam artist at first, but you have helped us out so much in everything that you're doing. We would vote for you for president. Like, you're amazing." Right. And I laughed and I said, I'm actually very conservative in politics and everything, but I also don't believe in treating people differently just because of whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they looked at me and they said, "You know what? Just so you know, we're not exactly not fans of Donald Trump."
There you go.
I was like, "Really?" She's like, "He's actually doing some pretty good things."
Yep.
I was like, "Okay, I like it."
People got to remember, too, he's the first presidential candidate before being elected to openly say he's for gay marriage.
Yep. And allow, what were they?
Transgender citizens.
Right, you said trannies the other week.
No, I didn't. I know you're going to clip in the...
Totally. Yeah.
Previously on the Generation Y Conservative podcast.
If a transgender was to go into your Trump hotel and wanted to use the bathroom that they identify with, would you let them?
Yeah. I love the trannies. They can use whatever bathroom they want. Totally cool with me.
That didn't happen.
Okay, so according to the New York Post, obviously a very conservative
the New York
resource.
Compost.
Yeah. It says that science says liberals, not conservatives, are psychotic. Okay. So it says,
hey, we don't want to be the anti-science people, so let's
I'm not
read
a science
more.
denier, so we actually got to look at the facts and see what science is actually laid out here intently. Turns out liberals are the real authoritarians. Go figure. A political science journal that published an off-cited study claiming that conservatives were more likely to show traits associated with psychoticism now says it got it wrong, very wrong. The American Journal of Political Science published a correction this year saying that the 2012 paper has an error in quotes, and that liberal political beliefs, not conservative ones, are actually linked to psychoticism. The interpretation of the coding of the political attitude items in the descriptive and preliminary analysis portion of the manuscript was exactly reversed, the journal said in a startling correction. The descriptive analysis report that those higher in Eysenck's psychoticism are more conservative, but they are actually more liberal. And where the original manuscript reports those higher in neuroticism and social desirability are more liberal, they are, in fact, more conservative. In the paper, psychoticism is associated with traits such as tough-mindedness, risk-taking, sensation-seeking, impulsivity, and authoritarianism. The social desirability scale measures people's tendency to answer questions in ways they believe would please researchers, even if it means overestimating their positive characteristics and underestimating negative ones. The erroneous report has been cited 45 times, according to Thomson Reuters' Web of Science. This guy, Brad Verhoest, a Virginia Commonwealth University researcher and co-author of the paper, said he was not sure who was to blame. I don't know where it happened. All I know is it did happen. He told Retraction Watch. I don't know why this keeps on popping up. Stop it. A blog that tracks corrections in academic papers. It's our fault for not figuring it out before. Or the agenda was more important than the truth.
All right.
I don't know. It could have been either one. Yeah. So, authoritarianism. I mean, have we not seen the demonstrations across the United States of anti-fascists sowing fascist tactics to take down said alt-right groups and stuff like that? It's like, you're a fascist, and we have to use fascist tactics to shut you down.
Yeah.
Your speech is not allowed here. Across campuses. They shut down the free speech of conservative speakers and everything. Ben Shapiro, Milo Yiannopoulos, what's her name? Blonde.
Ann Coulter.
Dave
Rubin. Did you see the video of Dave Rubin recently at a college? Or he was just like, it was...
I mean, it's sickening. Yeah, he's a recovering liberal, too.
Yep.
Now he's a classic liberal, which is something completely different if you actually do the research and invest the time into actually learning something. So I just found that really interesting because I think, I just found it funny about the psychotic thing. But what is true and what we're seeing across the country right now is this authoritarian approach to shutting down conservative thoughts and ideas and speech in a very authoritarian manner while they're preaching about Trump being a fascist.
Yeah, it's insane.
So it really takes something to do that. Hey, speaking of psychos, let's take a look at a liberal attacking a Trump supporter.
President, you ain't support. It's gonna go great in my fireplace.
Okay, so right there we had, I forget where it happened. Do you know where it happened?
No.
It was at a, I forget exactly where it was. But this guy comes up to two teenagers, 14-year-old boys, takes his Make America Great Again hat off of the kid's head, curses out the president, and then takes his drink and throws it on the teen, right?
Whataburger,
that was what it was, yeah. Civility?
Oh, yeah.
Tolerance?
Well, most I've seen, even in response to Maxine Waters' video, the big response I've seen from the left is F civility. Like, they don't even want to be anymore.
Yeah.
We are the enemy, and that's it. It's probably a fringe group, just like everything.
Well, I was going to actually say that I feel like I was seeing a lot of people on the left actually saying that they are against what Maxine Waters was saying, and people saying that they're against what this guy did and everything. But it's just amazing. Like, where does the civility go? You have a right to your opinion, no matter what it is, as long as it's not physically hurting someone. Like, I'm sorry, hurting your feelings is not constitutionally supported as a right and protected. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, we
live in a country that luckily we can hurt other people's feelings with words.
Hate speech is a very fabricated thing to whittle down on free speech laws or policy, But as a matter of fact, unbridled speech is what makes us grow as people.
Yep.
Like, the ability to ideas and solutions are going to offend someone.
Yeah.
But you have to hear it. You have to work out these circumstances and everything. You do not have the right, though, to do what this guy is doing, which is
put your hands on someone in any way.
Yeah. Take things from them, throw things at them. You are not promoting your message correctly.
Yep.
Okay. For sure. If nothing else, you just made your side look psychotic. Mm-hmm. Go figure.
Proving the New York Post right.
Yeah. Look what you've done. Oh boy. Okay. According to Red State, a head of a charity to prevent child abuse. The head of a charity to prevent child abuse was arrested for soliciting child pornography and sex with minors. Great.
Real winner here.
The chairman of the International Campaign to Stop Rape and Gender Violence in Conflict has been arrested for soliciting the rape of multiple children, one as young as 2 years old. 22-year-old Joel Davis was arrested in New York for allegedly exchanging texts with an undercover FBI agent. He is accused of trying to make arrangements for sexual encounters with minors, as well as requesting pornographic images of children. I don't know if it says it in here. This guy won a Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 19 for his actions trying to stop this kind of stuff, and he gets arrested for it. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
So is the Nobel Peace Prize being revoked? One would hope.
Just as much as Obama's is.
Right.
The 22-year-old allegedly arranged to meet the 9-year-old daughter of one of the undercover agents and with the purported 2-year-old daughter of the officer's girlfriend. He allegedly went into detail in a text message about what sexual activities he intended to engage in with the children. Prosecutors say Davis repeatedly asked the undercover agent to take naked and sexually explicit pictures and videos of the children and send them to him. Following his arrest, Davis allegedly admitted to officers that he had abused a 13-year-old boy in the past and that he kept child porn images on his phone. Always be aware of what the hell is going on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not. That's just crazy stuff.
That story was brought to you by Support the Death Penalty.
Yeah, or chemical castration.
Yeah,
right. Crazy. Okay, so there's a college. Is it Berkeley? Let me just see here real quick. Oh, we're skipping ahead there. That's going to be a good one. UC Berkeley, yeah. So students were protesting. Now, this is 2 or 3 weeks in the making from when this video actually came out and everything because of our time break. Students were protesting taking the midterms because of the professor's white privilege.
Huh. So they didn't have a problem with it for the whole first half of the semester, and then at midterm time, just all of a sudden came up.
Luckily, it was caught on video to show the intelligence of these students.
This death, it becomes their possibility, and we demonstrated that that's what will happen. Don't tell me that.
Yes, understand your privilege. Understand your privilege.
No,
Understand your
do
privilege.
not tell me that, because on Thursday, you're going to see people that I've worked with, that I was very close with, from these communities.
You can work with as many people as you want. At the end of the day, you're not a person of color. You're not a person. You're a white person. You navigate the world differently than people of color. You don't care for your life.
And we're not professors in administration who can forget about others. We're not professors who can just go about our daily lives, go to your nice house, go get fed, go have your salary by the university. Us, we don't.
We're food insecure. We don't have places to sleep. Not everyone has stable a family, a housing, food. Like we have relations that we're dealing with, and we force to take decisions. This is our mental health. This is our physical health. This is
What I'm more than prepared to do, we're going to let the students take the exam. We can walk outside, and I can continue the conversation
I think
with
we're going to
you.
head and we're going to go to the ethics department and bring this up to them right now.
You are more than welcome to do that.
Sure.
yeah.
So we're actually on that. So.
Yeah. You're welcome us because you know your title here, you know your position here, and you said the university is doing everything. Okay, why does the university do it? I don't know why you're still like sitting down, y'all. I don't understand. I really don't understand. Y'all can take the fucking test, but people are dying out there.
And stop
don't forget
protesting
that
and snapping your
there's
fingers
11
to bring on support
undocumented
something like this.
students. There's some 11 undocumented people.
All right, calm down, man bun.
Right. Oh, God.
Couple things I want to point out here. Number one, you reap what you sow. These professors have been touting these types of tactics to their students to protest out in public with public officials for decades. And now it's happening to them. We saw the same thing happen to Brett Weinstein.
Yeah, the guy from Evergreen College.
Right? A liberal who, when the students decided to have a walkout day where whites weren't allowed into school or something like that, he said, no, my students take priority. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they crowded around him, and the school reacted in a bad way.
They did what Maxine Waters said to do: create a mob.
Yeah.
And don't let them live comfortably and work comfortably.
These tactics are being taught by professors across the country at different colleges, and now it's backfiring on them because it's working faster and faster. They're seeing what kind of results you can get from this type of action, and they're using it to leverage themselves in academia as well now.
Yeah.
Right? And what you have is them protesting taking a midterm election because stuff is happening out in the world.
Midterm exam.
Yeah. What did I say?
Midterm election.
Oh, sorry. Midterm. Yeah. I'm definitely suffering from heat this week.
Yeah.
But they are protesting what's happening out in the world about people being homeless and whatever the heck else they're talking about. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
This professor's like, hey, you guys are more than welcome to step outside and we can continue this conversation. I'd be like, no. If you don't step outside, you're going to get my boot in your butt.
Yep.
And I'm going to kick you out that door. You have no right to be here. You're paying to be here. And guess what? If you refuse to take the midterm,
You fail.
You fail.
Yeah.
That is real life. Get the hell out of my classroom.
Yeah.
That's what I would say to him. All right? You don't want to take it? You want to protest it? Fine. Get your butt out of here right now.
Yeah.
You're going to fail it. And guess what? You're not going to get anywhere in life because of the type of bullcrap that you're pulling right now. You are not prepared to be an adult. You shouldn't be in college right now. Grow the hell up first before you even step foot in this college again. And then once you can actively take on being a responsible adult,
Stop
then
yelling at me, Chris.
maybe your parents will actually put out the money for you to go through college and be a responsible adult.
But
Until then, you're a piece of crap that is worthless to the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's a free country. You don't have to take it. You will get an F. That's it.
See ya.
Yeah. Have fun.
It amazes me that this guy was even putting up with this crap. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you have no place in this college.
It's insane. And props to the white kid in the front row whose white knee we had to stare at as he was recording this for everyone to see. Oh my God.
Worse. So, look at that. We're back to the New York Post. I posted this week. Let's do a little. Let's rewind a little bit over the last couple years, what we've seen in regards to transgenderism. We were talking about the LGBT videos and everything, and how we don't have a problem specifically with the people and their lifestyle. The libertarian in us is very, do whatever the heck you want to do. As long as it doesn't infringe on what I have going on, do what you want to do. You know what I mean? But when you step across that line and you start forcing us to adhere to whatever reality you're living in, your truth, then we're going to experience some problems. So what have we seen in the transgender headlines over the last couple of years? Number one, top priority, as far as bringing things forward, Caitlyn Jenner. Okay? Was on the cover of, was it Time?
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair, Woman of the Year. Okay? We've seen stories of athletes. Right? Runners.
Transgender women. Transgender runners smoking the rest of the field. Setting new world records. The transgender weightlifter. Just killing it.
The MMA wrestler the women who she fought felt like they were just that their skulls were being crushed with every hit. Right? The one woman said she has never felt a pressure like that before. Ever. The bone structure is different for that woman.
For some reason.
And now we have a Miss Universe is a transgender contestant, and I believe that she won.
She won her country, and then
moving on. Moving on to Miss Universe.
I think that something is official now.
I mean, I think we have to. This is not about transgenderism, right? This is about that we need to take a step back, and women need to realize and finally admit that men are just better at doing everything than women are.
Even being a woman.
Men
are better at being women than women.
When you're Woman of the Year, and you're smoking athletes. I mean, listen, if you're a woman, you're a woman. But men were doing it better. I mean, that's the real story here. You know? Angela Ponce. She's 26. She made history on Friday when she was crowned Miss Universe of Spain, becoming the pageant's first transgender title holder. Bringing the name and the colors of Spain before the universe is my great dream. She wrote in Spanish on Instagram shortly after her win, according to The Advocate. My goal is to be a spokesperson for a message of inclusion, respect, and diversity, not only for the LGBTQ plus community, but also for the entire world. In 2012, the Miss Universe organization ended its ban on transgender contestants. Ponce will go on to represent her country at the Miss Universe pageant later this year. The scary thing is... No, I'm not even going there.
It's scary. That's for sure. You'll be very easily tricked.
I'm glad I'm married. Even my wife was like, dang.
Just reminds me of that classic scene from Crocodile Dundee 2.
I forget what.
That's a bloke.
Well, I mean, what was a Miss America pageant that we were just talking about the other week that is getting rid of the swimsuit competition?
Did this one get rid of the swimsuit competition?
I have no idea.
Probably
I would imagine
not.
That's probably
That's
next in line and everything. I mean, we're focusing on the intelligence of them now. Not in regards to this woman. But like... is that what they're there for? Is that what they expected to get into? Was be based, have their talents and intelligence judged?
I will say that now that everyone's being led into the competitions, kind of glad that they're getting rid of the swimsuit. This one in a lovely two-piece, and look at that bulge. Wow, we got a winner here, folks.
And why don't they just start allowing men in the competition?
Well, it's just a matter of time before
universe person.
It's just a matter of time
Person of
before
the
you
universe.
get transgender female that inside is a female but doesn't dress like a female.
Yeah.
Doesn't do any none of the physical changes,
Yeah.
but still identifies
Yeah.
as a woman. So she's a woman.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let her in there.
Went through the hormonal
Yeah.
treatments, has a full beard and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just- oh man,
There's entertainment value here.
for sure.
I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I'm definitely not going to watch it.
Man, they're
this
making
is
it so that the ones that keep the swimsuit contest, you don't even want to watch those now. What the heck? It's ruining everything.
Point being, men do things better than women.
Apparently.
Anything you can do is not as good as a man.
Yeah.
That's how the new song is.
Even strutting down a catwalk in heels, men do it better.
Hey, since you're being so sexist, by the way, Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau was nailed with sexual harassment allegations from his past. So Trudeau is the prince of the left.
Yeah.
Right? They look up to him. He is the leader that the left looks to in comparison to Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is the one, the handshake, right?
Yeah.
You know how you saw the handshake, how Trump like pulls
He pulls
towards
people
himself,
in, yeah.
and Trudeau like knew it was coming and like kept his hand there or something
Yeah.
like that. With weak arms like that, I don't know how the heck he did
I
it.
guess you got to take your wins where you can get
Yeah,
them.
exactly. So Trudeau has been doing all these things lately in regards to just horrible. You know, he keeps on criticizing Trump for the immigration policies and not letting people in. And yet when the immigration becomes a focus and Trump starts doing something about it, they start escaping to our northern border instead. Well, Trudeau is going to be very welcoming. Obviously, he's criticizing the president. The couple that went across the border, he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa!
These Mexicans are all confused. They're like, hey,
They don't know
senors,
north from south.
they let us in up there. I heard this Trudeau guy is like, we can come. No, what?
El Como, Acrosso, El Bordo.
Hey.
Ayo.
We were totally ready to get up there, and they were all like, sorry. No puede, sorry. Hey.
So Trudeau couldn't handle, it literally is like a couple compared to what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
A couple immigrants crossing the border. He's like, whoa, our economy can't handle this, right?
Yeah.
But yet he's criticizing Trump for not allowing immigrants into our country and everything. Well, the darling of the left is now getting his own Me Too moment.
Oh,
right?
beautiful.
His reaction, have you heard of his reaction to it? It's probably the most man thing I've heard from him. Okay? So Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is having to explain allegations of sexual harassment from nearly 2 decades ago that have recently resurfaced. Trudeau is being accused of groping a female reporter when he was a 28-year-old teacher at a music festival. He's denying the allegations. Here's what he said. I remember that day in Creston well. I had a good day that day. Wait, I don't remember any negative interactions that day at all. No, you had
Not
a pretty
for you.
positive one for yourself.
Yeah.
You were grabbing ass. It was a pretty good day in Creston. I had a good day. It was no negative interactions. Not on your behalf.
Yeah.
That's the most mannish thing I've ever heard Justin Trudeau say. Come out of his mouth. This guy is grabbing reporters.
Yeah.
Is the left talking about him grabbing women? Doesn't say where he was groping her. But along with that, the allegations were made anonymously in an editorial published in the Creston Valley Advance a few days after the alleged altercation. So this was back then, when he was 28. Trudeau was accused of groping the woman and inappropriately handling the female reporter.
Oh, God.
What's up?
No, I'm laughing at that.
The editorial claimed that the woman felt blatantly disrespected by the interaction and that Trudeau apologized at the time. I'm sorry, Trudeau allegedly said at the time. If I had known you were reporting for a national paper, I would never have been so forward. Sorry, you're a reporter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have grabbed you. I would have grabbed some other woman.
Yeah, right.
The editor of the paper at the time said he fully backed the allegations of the reporter against Trudeau. I certainly believed that it had happened. This reporter was of high character, in my opinion, and was professional in the way she conducted herself. And there's no question in my mind that what was alluded to, written about in that editorial, did happen. Sorry, I'm choking on heat here.
Right. It's palpable.
So, again, Trudeau having his own Me Too moment there and everything.
That's pretty hilarious.
What we got? So, hey, speaking of...
well, you want to jump on this story real quick before we're too far removed from the transgender issues?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead with that.
So, and this also even relates back to the Berkeley story of just the left eating themselves, right?
Yes.
So, Scarlett Johansson under fire for playing a transgender man, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a movie, and I accidentally clicked the link. I don't do this that often. This is mostly Chris's gig. So, there's a movie coming out called Rub and Tug, right? Not a joke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, directed by Rupert Sanders, the film is based on the life of Dante Text Gill, to be played by Johansson, who ran an empire of massage parlors in Pittsburgh's underground sex industry in the 70s.
Like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Yes. Pittsburgh, it's the only one I know of. While Gill's gender identity has been described differently in various publications, most believe the crime boss identified as transgender. Now, this has ticked off SJWs and leftists all over the place because they believe that a transgender woman should be played by a transgender woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of them said, look, I've really liked Scarlett Johansson in some of her films, but I think the actor playing a trans man should be a trans man, and if at all possible. One person tweeted, seems to need to learn that not all roles belong to her. So now this is her fault, for getting cast.
Wait, she's playing a transgender man.
Well, a man who's a transgender woman. A biological man.
Okay. Are you sure of that?
No. Are we sure of anything? Are we sure of anything anymore?
Cats and dogs.
Living together. I don't know.
Read it again.
All right.
The portion of that.
All right.
Because we need to understand something very clearly here.
Well, Dante Tex Gill.
Yeah.
Sounds like a manly name.
So as a woman biologically becomes a man, right?
Described differently. Yeah, let me see if...
So did we not just learn something from the last article? Why not just get a man to play the part? Because he's going to do it better.
Oh, here we go. So it's right? So it's a female that is transgender man.
Yes.
Right? So, back to this. So people are freaking out saying that Scarlett Johansson, especially after the Ghost in the Shell controversy that she had, where she was cast as an Asian character. So,
she just keeps on getting herself into it.
So, but she had a pretty surprising response to all this because there have been plenty of transgender roles played by men. Like Jeffrey Tambor in Transparent, who was playing a transgender woman. Instead of getting an actual trans woman to play it, they cast him.
Didn't he fall to the Me Too movement?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he was praised as a hero when he was winning Golden Globe after Golden Globe, and then that show just crashed and burned, just like House of Cards. So Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto in Dallas Buyers Club played a transgender woman.
Never saw it.
Yep.
I heard it was...
I saw it.
I heard it was good. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Just from AIDS...
Matthew McConaughey looked sickly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was crazy. Apparently, Felicity Huffman has played a trans character. The other one is Eddie Redmayne. He played a trans woman in a movie and was nominated for stuff. No one said anything. So when Scarlett Johansson...
No one ever mentions Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie.
I know, right? What the heck? Yeah. Or Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Come on. We're going to really uphold Caitlyn Jenner as the model for these people when Tootsie and Mrs. Doubtfire were around.
Sure.
What did Eddie Murphy play as? I can't
Was it
remember.
an 80s movie? Like one of it?
No, no, it wasn't 80s.
Oh, The Nutty Professor, where he played every character in the whole family. Yeah. So, Scarlett Johansson's response was, "Tell them that they can be directed to Jeffrey Tambor, Jared Leto, and Felicity Huffman's reps for comment." Great response.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely.
response. Basically not putting up with it. But man, did that cause a backlash on top of it. One person tweeted, Scarlett Johansson's sarcastic statement in response to transgender men and women educating her was deeply unnecessary. Pose creators and executive Yeah, so everyone's just writing back that underrated. She has teamed up with the same director to play a trans male character in Rub and Tug. When asked to comment, she said, just refer to them. So I guess it's the same director that did Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too. But we talk over and over again about the left eating themselves. And I mean, we have to decide here, okay?
Yeah.
You and I have heard that a transgender woman is a woman.
Yeah.
A transgender man is a man. So a woman can't play a woman? A man can't play a man? What's going on here? What are we going to do? Because Ben Shapiro said, regardless of what we think, a biological man is going to play this role or a biological woman is going to play this role.
Yeah. Well,
That's it.
Yeah.
So,
And on top of that, the pool is pretty shallow in regards to transgender actors in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you could seek out a transgender actor that's an unknown, but you're not going to pull the same kind of viewership that Scarlett Johansson's going to
these
pull.
movies are still trying to make
still,
money
Yeah,
at
it's
the
still
end of the
about
day.
making money at the end of
You
the
know?
day. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know how many people are going to pay to see one of the most beautiful women on the planet dress up as a man, but whatever. I guess you have more of a chance than casting an unknown.
People saw that monster movie with Charlize Theron as like a
That was a good
disgusting
movie.
person.
Oh my God.
I actually never watched that one.
Yep.
Of all the movies I watch, Okay, so we're a little bit back and forth. I wish I would have stopped because I forgot about that topic there. Did you have another one?
Yeah, the Stephen King one when we get
hold
to
on
celebrities.
that. Yeah, okay. While we're talking about Canada, I know it's Britain, but this, according to Unbiased America, Britain's National Health Service to restrict 17 common medical procedures in order to save money.
When the government's paying for everything, got
What
cut
have we been
costs somewhere.
talking about?
Yep.
I mean, I was emotional and frustrated and infuriated by the Charlie Gard story and the Alfie Evans story, Well, this is according to Unbiased America. The National Health Service, or the NHS, Britain's free universal healthcare system, will begin to forbid a whole range of common medical procedures as part of cost-cutting measures. Procedures including injections for back pain, knee arthroscopies for arthritis, tonsillectomies, and surgery for heavy menstrual pain and bleeding are among a list of 17 that will be discontinued completely or highly restricted by the NHS. The health service hopes to save $260 million a year by reducing routine procedures by at least 100,000 operations. Here are the 17 treatments. The knee one I talked about, removal of bone spurs for shoulder pain, injections for back pain, dilation and curettage for heavy menstrual bleeding, hemorrhoid surgery. There's going to be a lot of Britons standing up a lot of the time. Hysterectomy for heavy menstrual bleeding, carpal tunnel syndrome release, removal of lesions on eyelids, tonsillectomy, snoring surgery, breast reduction.
They'll pay for them to get bigger.
Yeah.
So wait, cosmetic surgeries are also covered by the government in England?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Breast reduction is
It's
probably
normally
seen
back
as back
issues and
issue,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Yep.
Removal of benign skin lesions, grommets or glue ear. Never heard of that.
You ever heard of grommets and glue ear?
No. Dupuytren's contracture release, excision of small non-cancerous lumps on the wrist called ganglia, trigger finger release, and varicose vein surgery. Some of these things are pretty, fundamental.
Yeah.
Hemorrhoid stuff?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The list of 17 operations form the first stage of treatment restrictions. First stage being in parentheses. This is just the first of operations to go. And what do we talk about?
Wave one.
These are all sourced. Unbiased America is a great page to follow on Facebook. The sources that they listed for this: The Guardian, King's Fund, another article on The Guardian, the BBC, and another article on The Guardian. So all these things are actually sourced out, and it's exactly what we've been talking about. When you tax everyone to pay for everything, the system gets flooded, and it becomes unaffordable then.
Yeah.
To keep on doing all these things. If you can't get hemorrhoid surgery, for crying out loud.
There's no hope for humanity.
Listen, you're going to be standing up a lot as it is. You might as well stand up against your government in this case.
Right, for sure.
So, again, out of the UK, it's just unbelievable what the NHS keeps on doing in regards to the citizens over there.
Yep.
I mean, they're killing people.
Mm-hmm. And there's just a growing population here that wants to bring that system over.
No.
I mean,
Nay,
are you gonna? Do you have in there anything about the Bronx primary that just happened with that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Yeah, socialist.
Yep.
It's Democratic socialist or socialist?
Whatever that means.
Yeah,
Democratic
it
socialist.
doesn't mean
Basically an
anything.
understudy of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, she's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of socialists and crazy people, especially representatives,
You sure?
let's see what caused an uproar with Maxine Waters over the last week.
We want it done now. We're going to insist on it. If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants, who have protesters taking up at their house, who's saying no peace, no sleep. No peace, no sleep. And guess what? We're going to win this battle because while you try and quote the Bible, Jeff Sessions and others, you really don't know the Bible. God is on our side. On the side of the children. On the side of what's right. On the side of what's honorable. On the side of understanding that if we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. And so, let's stay the course. Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Okay. First of all, before we get into what she's inciting there.
Sure.
Okay. One thing that I noticed was over the last week, and this weekend, there were a lot of protests in regards to the immigration policies and separating children, right?
Lady climbing the Statue of Liberty. You see that one?
Yeah.
Idiot. Ruining the 4th of July for all, because they had to close down Liberty Island.
Yeah.
So anyone that on the 4th of July wanted to go see the Statue of Liberty as a vacation thing with the Fed, just ruining it for everyone.
Yep.
Freaking idiots, man.
Do you know what happened last week?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't there something signed?
Yeah, there was an executive order signed by President Trump to end the separation policy. Yet there were protests over the weekend to end the separation policy.
It just proves, like, over and over again that it doesn't matter what he does. Doesn't matter the good things he does. There's no satisfying any of these extremists, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. It just seems like these people had a plan to protest this at least a week in advance, and he signs the executive order, and they're like, you know what, screw it, we're going to show up and protest anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people want to hear this message, and they want to spout their hatred towards Trump anyway.
Yeah.
So let's just feed the anger.
And that
Feed
wasn't
the
good enough.
outrage.
Now we're going to keep protesting until all the kids are reunited. You know, like that can just happen like with the snap of a finger, you know?
Yeah, and so let's talk about what she actually incited here, which was...
Well, real quick, before we actually move off of the immigration topic, remember that you actually shared it, the video that I shared with you about that Border Patrol agents talking to... I mean, some of the stuff he said, I mean, when you're... The only people being separated are the ones that were basically found to have committed felonies or anything like that. There are ports of entry you can come into where you won't be separated and claim asylum.
We talked about that 2 weeks ago.
And then the stories that he told about finding kids dead, floating down the river, like on this trek that their parents are taking them. They don't want to hear that.
No.
That they're basically saving these kids. Also,
there was a 6-year-old that was just found abandoned in the desert in 100-degree heat.
Yeah.
That they saved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But instead, the ICE officials are being
to abolish ICE. That's all they want to do. And then they're also telling stories about how, especially when they're crossing like multiple countries to get here, that basically there's an 80% chance that especially female kids will be raped.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
And most of these kids aren't even with their parents; they're with traffickers and stuff like that.
I would rather be in a cell, holding cell.
And plus, if where you're coming from is that bad, that you're willing to risk your kids getting raped, dying, all this stuff on the way here. Oh, but when we get there, we might be separated from them for a little while. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, I'm fine
My
risking...
kids are starving.
I'm fine risking them starving.
Being raped.
Being raped.
The government
getting
is
eaten by
oppressive.
Animals. Getting,
drug cartels.
Drug cartels caught by human traffickers. Oh, but then we get there and we got to separate it for a little while.
You're going to keep my kid with a foil blanket, you bastard?
You monster. Oh, my God. Like, who's the monster here? You know?
It's unbelievable. So anyway, Maxine Waters was basically inciting, cornering people in the Trump administration and assaulting them.
Yeah.
You know, look up the definition of assault real quick for me, okay? Yeah. And then she's surprised when her colleagues come out against her and say what she's doing is wrong.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Assault, a physical attack, a concerted attempt to do something demanding. Yep. A verb, make a physical attack.
Okay.
Yep.
So I thought it was something else. Maybe I was thinking of a different word.
Well, I always thought assault was more verbal, and then battery was more physical.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know.
So
either way, she's advocating violence.
Yeah.
What do you expect to happen when you have a bunch of emotionally driven people cornering an administration official that they vehemently hate and spit vile rhetoric on?
And her main defense in this is that she says she never said do anything violent. That it was just, you know, but to me, when she says, quote, create a mob, that is only asking for trouble. You know what you're asking for. You know what I mean?
What Maxine is looking for in her excuse and from the public is the benefit of the doubt that she didn't mean physically assault.
Yeah, that's what she's basically...
She's looking for that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Would she grant that benefit of the doubt to a Republican that used her exact same verbiage?
Not at all.
It would be the rise of the Third Reich again, or
Third Reich, yeah,
again, and military action, and they are calling for the deaths of like whatever, bigoted, sexual, homophobic, racist individuals who are calling for the annihilation of whatever. You know, it's just like extreme rhetoric to the outrage scale of the nth degree. Yeah. You know. And she would never give the benefit of the doubt. So why should we grant her that?
And the other thing they always say, well, Trump said this during the campaign, and he said, oh, punch that guy, I'll cover your legal fees. So basically...
That was wrong, by the way.
Yeah, of course it was.
That was absolutely wrong to do.
Of course. But and I'm not justifying that at all.
No.
But to then say that makes it okay for you to do what you're doing? I mean, wasn't Michelle Obama's line... When they go low, we go high. Not when they go low, we go lower. We're better at going low than you. Show them we're better at going low than they are. You know, like it's ridiculous.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Maxine Waters. Let's see here. Okay, well, let's head back to the Supreme Court.
There's actually I just saw a story that the House. Some commission with the House based on an ethics commission is filing against her.
Yes.
Basically saying that this goes against the ethics of the House of Representatives, and that she could possibly be expelled from it, which is, I think, is warranted. Not just because if a Republican did the same thing, I would also think it's warranted.
Yeah. So we talked earlier about the Supreme Court and President Trump's picks and everything. I'm getting messages not concerning the podcast here. Okay, so we're going to head back to the Supreme Court. It says, according to CNBC, in a blow to public sector unions, the Supreme Court overturns a 40-year-old precedent. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4 last Wednesday in Janus versus the AFSCME that non-union workers cannot be forced to pay so-called agency fees to fund the work of public sector unions. Experts said that a ruling in favor of Janice would be the most significant court decision affecting collective bargaining rights in decades. So here's the thing. Did we talk about this before? Mm-mm. Essentially, what you have is non-union workers being forced in union shops, I guess is the best way of putting it, to pay union dues because they reap some of the benefits, even though they don't get all the benefits, and they're being forced to pay union dues if they're not part of the union, right? In reality, what ends up happening in almost every single case is a good portion of those union dues
are donated
to political parties that you don't appreciate or want to support, right? And so this ruling I felt was right on the money for what it did, which is takes that away from the unions, that power, and doesn't force people that don't want to have that due come out of their pay for something that they don't believe in. It doesn't make any damn sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And we've talked about this. You've always said, too, you err on the side of freedom, right?
Yes.
And how in a free society, if people want to be part of the union and support the union and they are in the union and they want to donate to the union and pay the union dues, I'm all for that. But, well, it's still their choice. And in a free society, exactly. I'm all for it.
Yes, exactly.
But to force people that don't want to be part of the union to take money out of their paycheck to support an organization that potentially has wildly different political views than them, or even just views on the job or anything like that, it just doesn't make any sense. So this was a judgment by the Supreme Court in regards to free speech more than anything, as far as what you can put your dollars towards.
Go figure, reading the Constitution as a filter for a policy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're for unions or against unions. Even if you're for unions, I don't understand how you could be for forcing someone to pay towards something they don't want to pay towards.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense. And this comes, I think that Kennedy, the Supreme Court justice that just said they're going to retire, he has been the swing vote in a lot of decisions recently. He was one of the main ones for gay marriage and things like that. So I think the left was a little caught off guard that he would come out and say he was going to retire during Trump's presidency. But with these,
we're still hoping for Roberts to back down.
I know, right? But with these recent decisions that you
Ginsburg
see,
too. Back down.
Yep. We'll see. But with these recent decisions, in regards to the unions, in regards, what were the other main ones that just happened? There was a big one that just happened.
Yes.
The gay baker, and there was another one just recently. I forget what it was. But anyway, these were all issues that had to do with free speech and things like that. And I think he voted the way that they all turned out in every case. So I think what he is saying, like, even though I might have some differences here, that I feel like if I wait till a liberal or a Democrat is president, that a lot of these free speech constitutional issues will be overturned, and I don't think he wants that to happen. So that might be one of the main reasons why he's choosing to do it now. He might have talked to one of the other justices and said, hey, on some of these social issues, you be the swing vote now, or something like that. But it's just, it would really change the country, if these decisions went the other way.
No, absolutely.
So
it's like there's been so much socially going wrong, and people acting like fools in regards to their interactions with people that they disagree with, the incivility, the intolerance, the just outrage over nothing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I said before, in regards to the Supreme Court pick, they're outraged before someone is even talked about, we live in this time, and it's just, some of these decisions were like a breath of fresh air. Like, thank God we still have some common sense in regards to freedom, in regards to constitutional
liberty.
Just the reading of the Constitution and application of it to policies, for crying out loud. Instead of like Sotomayor and her feelings making way for her votes and everything, which she continued to do with these votes and everything. She was, of course, going to be on the opposite end of what was going on, but I mean, it's so ridiculous.
And this is the big thing. I mean, we're jumping for joy. Like, even never Trumpers like yourself, one of the things you voted for was because of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And so,
I was hoping for a right of center justice.
Mm-hmm. We
We got Gorsuch, which exceeded my expectations beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yep. So it's I'm really hoping with this one that Amy Barrett's going to get it.
I do too.
Even listening to Ben Shapiro kind of like ranking them, apparently she is the most constitutionally sound as with decisions to back it up.
Okay. There's one guy that's a little bit better, I feel.
Well, there's Mike Lee, who he likes the most.
Mike Lee would be amazing.
He likes the most, but he's not even on the list.
No, he hasn't.
Kavanaugh is the other one. But even of the three that are being considered right now, Shapiro likes Amy Barrett the most. And she's young, and so she'll be there for forever. And she's a woman.
Exactly.
How are the Democrats going to argue that? Oh,
you can't.
How did this,
because we would use their tactics against them.
How did this woman-hating president? How did this woman-hating president pick a woman for the Supreme Court? That's
Susan
crazy.
Collins is going to be one of the Republicans that goes against her in court hearings, right, or in hearings for confirmation, right?
Yep.
And I fully support people calling her a sexist if she goes against Amy.
For sure. There were 2 Republicans, because there's 51 Republicans. If all of them vote yes, no matter what the Democrats do,
John McCain.
So there's,
I think is the other one.
Well, there's another one. There's another female that has really kind of as a Republican, but has really started turning left. That I guess Trump actually had them there to talk. Basically, we want to shore this up. We don't want to. So. I don't know. We'll see. And then will any Democrats vote yes? Because the other thing with Amy Barrett is when she was confirmed for the for her current position in the appellate court, there were 4 or 5, I think, well, maybe 3 or 4 Democrats who voted for her. So now are you not going to vote for her?
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Blatant bias.
Blatant bias. Yep, for sure. Because now okay, this is how they really do like her, but they can't go with Trump. Now this is a Trump decision.
Yep.
So what are they going to do? So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Tracy says, nice shirt.
That's my mom, actually. Terry.
Terry?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. They got it for me in Portugal. So. Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Rocking the
both our moms.
The family Portuguese team.
Okay, so let's get into the patriotic kind of July 4th things that we started the whole night.
I almost feel like I wanted to go right into this story at the beginning because it all really, really tied in.
So we talked about the importance of the 4th of July and what it really means. It's not about fireworks and the birth of America, although that's wrapped up into, we talked about the birthing pains of America and what led to all of that and everything. Well, according to Gallup, which isn't exactly a left or right-leaning polling institute, basically, it says in the U.S. a record low 47% are extremely proud to be Americans. It says this 4th of July marks a low point in U.S. patriotism for the first time in Gallup's 18-year history, asking U.S. adults how proud they are to be Americans. Fewer than a majority say they are extremely proud. Currently, 47% describe themselves this way, down from 51% in 2017 and well below the peak of 70% in 2003. The latest results are based on a June 1st through 13th poll. When Gallup asked the first question in 2001, 55% of Americans said that they were extremely proud. After 9/11, terror attacks caused the public to rally around the nation and its leaders. The percentage expressing extreme pride in the country increased to 65% and went up further to 70% less than 2 years later. Okay, so this is one of the kind of headlines within the article. National pride dropping most among Democrats and liberals.
Surprise, surprise.
Go figure. Mm-hmm. Currently, can I just say something real quick before I forget about this point?
Yep.
It's just, I'm trying to find the best way to put this. I believe that those of us on the right love America for what America is.
Yes.
I do not believe that the left hates America. Mm-hmm. I believe that their love for America is a love for what they want America to be.
Yep.
not for what it is. And I think that's the distinguishing difference between the two parties.
Yeah. And I was listening to Ben Shapiro a lot this week, actually, and one thing he said was Democrats, their level of patriotism hinges greatly on who's president and what they're doing.
If they're not who's president. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's their patriotism goes up based on their power level.
Yeah, and it's still not even as high as us. Like basically, during Obama's years, Republicans were at 70%, feeling very proud to be American.
Yep.
Democrats are at like 56.
Okay, so let me get into this, and you can make your point. It says currently 32% of Democrats are extremely proud to be Americans, down from 43% in 2017 and 56% in 2013.
Yeah. So they weren't even all that, just above half.
Yeah.
Just above half, even when Obama was president, who, if you talk to them now, Obama was the best president we ever had.
Yeah. Just because he had swagger.
Yeah, just swagger, yeah.
That's it.
Oh, he's such a diplomat. He's such a good speaker. Whatever. But Republicans, even during Obama's years, were still at around 70%, and they still are now. And what Ben Shapiro said too was, Democrats, who's in office greatly affects and what they're doing. With Republicans, it's not who's in office, and it's not who's elected or in the House or in the Senate. We love America because of the principles founded by our founding fathers.
Yeah.
Because we have inalienable rights, because we have the Bill of Rights, because we are by the people, for the people. That is why. So it never changes, because we have a founding document that basically makes it moot who's president as far as how things are run. So
listen, I'm proud to be an American.
For sure, no matter what.
Because at least I know I'm free.
Exactly.
Write that down.
Yeah, okay. It's a good line.
It says less than half of independents, 42%, are also extremely proud. That is down slightly from 48% a year ago and 50% in 2013. So independents were 50-50 in Obama's years. As has typically been the case, Republicans are more inclined to say that they are extremely proud to be Americans than are Democrats and independents. 74% of Republicans are extremely proud, which is numerically the highest over the last 5 years. Well, that's obvious. I think we knew that that was going in that direction with Trump in office. Well, listen, to your point, yes, I think that there's a lot of underlying things that Republicans will always be proud of the country no matter who's in power. But that number will fluctuate back and forth based on who's in power.
Yeah, it's absolutely. But I think that when it comes to like a deep-seated feeling, you could be a little bit more like if Bernie Sanders won and we start going towards a totally socialist path, and we know what happens in every other socialist country, in Venezuela and everywhere else, of course you're going to feel less proud. But you still have that patriot flame in there. You know what I mean? That's
win us back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Always amazes me that the people that want a civil war in this country are the ones that don't have the guns.
I know, right?
I'm just saying.
It doesn't make any sense.
Just saying. It says, with the large decline among Democrats, the Republican-Democrat gap in extreme pride has grown from 15 percentage points in 2013 to 42 points today. Political liberals are even less likely than Democrats to say that they're extremely proud. Just 23% do so, compared with 46% of moderates and 65% of conservatives. Extreme pride among liberals has dropped 9 points in the past year and 28 points since 2013. Wow. 28 points in just their political affiliation alone.
And when you see the breakdown, between different demographics as well. So men and women, 51% of men, 44% of women. So it's kind of close. White and non-white, 54% of white, 33% of non-white. And then when you go down the ages, 18 to 29, 33%, 30 to 49, 42%, 50 to 64, 56%, and 65 and older.
The older generations fought for this country.
Exactly. So they are going to be...
millennials
they have no idea.
Just entitlement brats. That don't understand freedom or the cost of freedom.
And then the last one, at first I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising. But when you really think about it, it's not at all. College graduates, 39%. Non-college graduates, 52%.
Because they're indoctrinated in college to hate America.
Exactly. you know? And the non-college graduates are probably working or doing
And
a trade.
liberals will say, no, it's just because they're smarter.
We're
and
the
more intelligent,
intellectuals.
intellectual giants
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
It's
going,
and the thing is, all these people that aren't proud to be American, they have no idea the jackpot of life that they won being born here.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a
be
best
born
lottery in the world.
in Yemen or wherever, you know, anywhere else. It's insane. They're so lucky, and they don't even know it.
There's more that you can find on this. Just search for the Gallup poll in regards to patriotism, and something will show up for you. You can actually follow the link there. Kind of going along with that, though, and especially the last thing that you just mentioned in regards to colleges and everything, a professor asked, this is according to Campus Reform, thank God for the work that they do, a professor asked students to find something to celebrate on the 4th.
Like something other than what we're supposed to?
Anything.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Yeah.
Stupid.
By the way, I want to go back to something. I tweeted out, oh man, this is like really going back to the Supreme Court before we get to this. I'm sorry. Because we've jumped around the Supreme Court way too much now as it is anyway.
Oh, I think it's one of the biggest things happening right now. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you were talking about the outrage and this like hysteria over the Supreme Court pick, and that there's a possibility that Roe v. Wade would be overturned, right? And that they're wringing their hands over this decision. They went to Lindsey Graham for his opinion on it. And he said, "Oh no, I don't believe that Roe v. Wade."
Who is talking right now?
Lindsey Graham.
Okay, now it says.
So what he said was, "I don't believe that it would be overturned, because you'd have to find a pretty good reason to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Murdering babies isn't good enough.
Yeah, like I don't know, 60 million babies so far that were killed, and the millions of babies to come that are going to be killed. Like one good reason, give them." I said, I tweeted out. I tagged him in it. Lindsey Graham is looking for one reason, just one reason, on why Roe v. Wade should be overturned. Just give him that reason. Tweet at him. Tweet at Lindsey Graham. I think it's at John McCain's in my basement or something like that. Anyway, so a professor asked students to find something to celebrate on the 4th. These people really need to find some answers that they're just lacking. Yeah. And what I like to call common sense. University of Northern Colorado professor told students that she hopes they can find something to celebrate on Independence Day despite, quote, a ton of ugliness in our nation's past and present. While she did not specify the ugliness to which she was referring, her Twitter page is rife with examples of the social problems she sees in America, from the Second Amendment to immigration enforcement. Again, this is all according to Campus Reform. Says, Happy 4th of July on Wednesday. Kyle Nelson wrote in an email to students in her sociology 170 social problems class. Despite there's a social problems class, number one problem right there. Despite all the social problems we are facing, and despite a ton of ugliness in our nation's past and present, I hope each of us can find something to celebrate or honor, at least or at least reflect on over the holiday. Well, I think I did a pretty darn good couple reasons on what to celebrate in the beginning of the podcast. Like, the fact is, the world would not look the way it is today, despite the ugliness that she sees. It would be a hell of a lot uglier if America did not come to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. No one has overthrown more tyranny than we have.
It's so ridiculous. Well, it's a matter of it's obviously perspective, right? And you're just wearing these glasses on the left right now. And we're going to get to some celebrities and what they tweeted out on the 4th and everything. That it's mind-boggling that you can see your country that has changed the world for the better in almost everything. We've talked about charitable giving in the past. No one gives like American citizens to charity, far and above and beyond any other country, right? The things that we do for other countries, the aid we send to other countries, how we help our allies and everything, how we squash tyranny, as you were talking about, you know? No other country does that like us.
Just think of any time there's like a major natural disaster in another part of the world. You have a telethon, and Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, everyone is helping.
Yep.
You know, so it's, you know.
So, here's her Twitter page. Let me open that up real quick.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord. Her Twitter handle is at Kyle Ann Nelson. So KyleAnnenelson. Here's what I'll tell you. Go tweet at her any reason that you can find on the reason why to celebrate the 4th of July. And let her know what you think. All right, let's move on a little bit more here. Facebook, this is all according to PJ Media. Facebook apologizes after its algorithm blocks a Declaration of Independence as hate speech. It says a Declaration of Independence was censored on Facebook this week. According to Facebook's algorithm, America's founding document contains hate speech. Leading up to the Independence Day, a newspaper in Texas posted sections of the Declaration of Independence on Facebook. The social media site's algorithm blocked a section of America's founding document, categorizing it as hate speech. I'm glad to say Facebook later realized its mistake, apologized, and unblocked the post, but this incident reveals the problems with automated hate speech algorithms. Again, hate speech is constitutionally protected under the First Amendment.
Yep.
Okay? And hate speech is a matter of opinion.
Yep.
Okay? You saying something racist, right, is hate speech to a minority, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone says something mean about conservatives or me personally, I can deem that hate speech. Doesn't mean it is hate speech.
Yep.
You know, speech is speech.
Yep.
That's the point I'm trying to make here. A hate crime is a crime.
And plus, even if someone is saying something hateful or wrong that everyone across the board can agree on, it's good that we live in a country where they can say that so that they can show the world their true colors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or their truth.
Yeah, they're speaking their truth. If offensive speech is not protected, then no speech is protected. You know?
Right.
Because what is there, you know? It's crazy.
It says the Vindicator started posting snippets of the Declaration on June 24th, enabling readers to digest the whole thing in time for July 4th. The first 9 parts posted just fine, but Part 10, paragraphs 27 through 31 of the founding document did not appear. Instead, the Vindicator received a notice from Facebook saying that the post goes against our standards on hate speech, according to the paper. The offending passage was part of the long train of abuses the signers of the Declaration accused King George III of committing against America. And here's what is said. Those paragraphs said this. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous
heat
ages.
stroke.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it is so hot in here. And totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. Which one do you think was the reason why they blocked it as hate speech there? Let me read it again and see if my live stream on Facebook is cut off. The merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. The merciless Indian savages. Not all Indians or indigenous people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's according to whose ever truth we're talking about.
I know, right?
Obviously, that was a reason. But again, we're talking about historical documentation here.
Yep.
it's not hate speech, it's history.
Yep.
You know? Do you know, I can't believe I left this out. I didn't even post about it. That, is it Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah.
Is
I've
that
heard
it?
about this, yeah.
Is being taken out of libraries now for hate speech? Or something like that? Because of how they talked about black people in it or something? Which was what was going on at that time?
Yeah.
That's like book burning.
Yeah, for sure.
You know who did book burning?
Yeah. Wasn't it the Socialist Party?
Yeah, the National Socialist Party.
Oh,
AKA the Nazis.
The Nazis.
Yeah. But we're the Nazis.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, point being here, they're blocking free speech. And the most astounding thing to me here is it's the Declaration of Independence that led to the Constitution, which the very first thing that they wrote, that they deemed the most important amendment in the Bill of Rights, is the protection of free speech. Right? And here we have an algorithm that's like, the hell with that. We're going to block this SOP. No way. You know?
Oh, God.
Like when you argue with the left that history is literally being changed, right? And it's being changed in the most devious ways too, I think, right? At our family reunion, one person in my wife's family said, well, the history is being taught a lot differently today because there's so much more from the beginning of America to now, because now is always changing. I'm like, yeah, that's why it's called history.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's more history involved. But in order to fill those gaps on what history is taught, right, you have to start leaving things out.
Yep.
But they're leaving out the most important things, right? The things that built America, that those principles that were built upon, that led up to the biggest changes in this country. And what do they always say about history? Those who fail to learn it
are doomed to repeat it.
Repeat it.
I'll never forget my 11th grade history class is the most favorite class I've ever had in high school, for sure. Top 2 overall. And this guy that we had as a teacher, he was so politically incorrect. It was ridiculous. He looked like Colonel Custer. Like the long blonde hair, the mustache with the goatee and stuff.
Gosh.
And he would make jackets out of leather and stuff, and he had he always talked about how he had pet wolves.
No way.
He lived in the mountains. He told the story once of how he was out with his wolves and someone was walking their little dog, and he's like, your little dog can kill my wolf. He would choke on it. But anyway, he starts off his class by saying, and you can never, ever, ever say this now. You couldn't. By saying, we are going to learn about real history. We are going to learn about great people and great civilizations who did great things to change the world. Not some hoobie-booby tribe in the middle of Africa. That's exactly what he said. He would always make fun of me because I was Portuguese, and he would say, hey, you fake Mexican, they got tacos today. Are you excited? And I would tell him, hey, remember, the Portuguese were the best whalers. Don't let your mother know I'm coming. And but it was hilarious. But you couldn't do that now, Jeez.
Okay, so
it's those things that stick with you, though, later in life, 20 years later.
We're talking about how the left is not so patriotic, right?
Or when they try to be.
Yeah. So we had a couple celebrities and stuff tweet out their thoughts on July 4th, and I'm just going to read through some of them. Chelsea Handler.
Oh, pillar of our community.
The one who said that she doesn't regret or think about where her children would be had she not aborted them.
Yeah.
Never regretted those 2 abortions that she had. She said, she tweeted out, to every country on the 4th of July, we're sorry about our president. He doesn't reflect all of our views, and we hope you know that the majority of us are ashamed. We will rally each other and come back to the world one step at a time. Hashtag November is coming. Hashtag also sorry about hot dogs. So, the patriotism comes with, what do you call it?
A grain of salt.
Yeah, it's like an addendum or something like that. Of I'm hey, happy 4th of July. By the way, we suck.
Yeah.
And, she's apologizing here. Well, do you remember, it was literally called the Obama Apology Tour?
Yeah,
when he first got in office, he just started going on this trek through all the countries and stuff, allies and all these other people, and it was just an apology after apology for America's actions and everything. We are the reason for the light in the world when it comes to other countries. I'm sorry, there's nothing to apologize for. Well, there she is.
Who's
apologizing. Next? Jeffrey Wright. Who's Jeffrey Wright? Do you know?
I think he's a comedian.
Okay. He said, happy 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Your president's ex-campaign head's in jail and charged, among other things, with conspiracy against you. Your president's personal wink attorney is in line to face similar charges, and guess who's next? Enjoy the fireworks. So, railing against the president there. You're looking up who he is?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to be on the same article that you were on.
It's on Fox News.
Yeah, I got it here.
Ellen DeGeneres. I love Ellen. Mm-hmm. I do. She's fun and everything, but the political crap that she does.
Yep.
And what still pisses me off is this whole thing with that Vegas shooting and how she treated that security guard who then disappeared and all that. She says, happy 4th of July. This country of immigrants, religious refugees, outcasts, and dreamers has come a long way. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't really understand when they get into arguments about immigrants into this country. We're all immigrants. Yeah, you do realize you could go to Ellis Island and see where we actually signed in and made ourselves known and did it through a legal process at the time, right? There's a big difference between breaking, illegal immigrants basically come into this country breaking the law right off the back, and we're supposed to respect that.
Yeah.
Do it the right way. We talked about asylum seeking 2 weeks ago, and that you can claim asylum in your own country at the U.S. Embassy. You can make that trek all the way up through Mexico, and at the last minute decide, hey, I'm going to stop at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico and claim asylum.
Yep.
You can also go to the damn checkpoint on the border and claim asylum, and you'll never be separated from your family. But the second you get caught doing it illegal into the country, all of a sudden now you need asylum.
Yeah.
It's an excuse.
It totally is. Yeah. And you know what? I'll read Ellen's tweet literally, since she doesn't mention illegal immigrants. And I agree. I agree with your tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on, Ellen.
This is disappointing.
This one hurt, yeah, because I'm a big
Ron
Sons of
Perlman.
Anarchy fan. Yeah.
I was thinking Hellboy.
Oh,
Ron Perlman, on this celebration of this great country's independence, let us not forget that there are thousands of little babies that have been ripped from the safety every child deserves, ripped from the impulse with absolutely no plan or wherewithal to reunite them. Never forget. This was on July 4th that he tweeted this. A couple days after the executive order, again, that Trump put through not to separate families.
Yeah. Well, it was before. I mean, July 4th was just yesterday.
Yeah.
He signed this last week.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, once again, instituted by President Clinton, followed through and acted on 90,000 children ripped away from their parents under Obama.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's important though.
Yeah.
Bette Midler. It's the 4th of July. Only 125 more days until the midterm elections. And if it goes the way I hope, that will truly be hashtag Independence Day. So it's a political thing.
Idiots.
And another hurtful one, Ron Howard. Hashtag Happy Birthday, America. I have a request as a guy who believes in the principles of our great nation. As you celebrate with family and friends, please talk about recommitting yourselves to register, think, vote, be counted in local, state, and national elections. Don't let the few drive the system. I agree. The few being the outspoken, extremely loud liberals that think that their minority opinion is what should be ruling the country. Obviously not the case, and that's why Trump's in office. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Common, happy 4th of July. Remember, there is nothing more patriotic than protests. Well, yeah, the protest is actually covered under the First Amendment. It's just a matter of how stupid you are in the protest. George Takei. On this 4th, I'm reminded that we have veered from the promised path before. We left a trail of tears. Yes, that's a horrible thing in history. Counted people as 3/5. Obviously, George needs a history lesson. Should I go through it again? I think I will. Before I even... Okay, let me read the rest of the tweet here. Built camps for any who looked like the enemy and stood silent as countless died of a plague. Yes, love will win, but not without a fight. Let's go back to the 3/5 argument there, right? in the Constitution, the reason why the black vote was counted as 3/5 instead of a whole vote was because the black population in the South outnumbered the white population because there were more slaves than slave holders at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And with all those in mass against contrasting against the northern colonies, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there were ever to come a time that there would be a vote to free the slaves, the slave masters would make the slaves vote to keep themselves in slavery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Under threat of death to family and everything else. So they had to make their votes count as less so that the northern colonies could win out that argument and actually give black slaves the freedom that they deserved. And it's clearly laid out in the documents by the founding fathers that they found slavery abhorrent, right? Jefferson specifically, it's ridiculous. There was a whole, when Clinton got caught with the whole Lewinsky scandal, there was a big to-do back in the 90s in regards to Jefferson fathering children of slaves, right? Mm-hmm. And it was an article that was pushed out there right away in that time period to say, hey, listen, everybody, went through their, what's it called when you cheat? Affairs.
Yeah, infidelities.
Infidelities, right. And even Jefferson fathered children with slaves and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then silently, it was retracted because it actually came back that the DNA test showed that it was actually Thomas Jefferson's uncle of blood that actually slept with the slaves and had children, but not Thomas Jefferson himself.
Yeah.
And what the country as a whole fails to realize without actually looking into proper history and seeing that it was actually illegal in most colonies at that point in time to release your slaves. It was illegal unless upon your death.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to change laws as much as possible, but again, had to hold a semi-glue between the colonies in order to resist the crown as it was, with a certain portion of the population still fighting against themselves, saying that they stood with the crown.
Yep.
What a precarious, brittle situation they stood on and had to work through just to get through that time and still defeat the greatest army in the world at the time.
Yep.
Okay, and the last one here, Alyssa Milano, who's been a real blessing lately to all of us.
Right.
We're blessed with the opportunity to stand for something, for liberty and freedom and fairness, and these are things worth fighting for, worth devoting our lives to, and that's a quote from Ronald Reagan. Happy 4th of July. I actually can't believe that she went through that with a quote from Ronald Reagan and didn't add something sarcastic in there and held to it. So you had a tweet from someone as well.
Yep. So Stephen King also tweeted on the 4th of July, and he is pretty out there leftist as well.
Like way out there.
Yeah, way out there. But
he was blocked by Trump.
Yeah.
And so was J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
And they go back and forth.
Oh yeah,
all the time.
Yeah. But on the 4th of July, he tweeted out, "Progressives, go find a Trump-supporting friend, the one you haven't spoken to since November of 2016, and give him or her a hug. Trumpies, find a, quote, liberal snowflake friend and do the same. Just for today, let's all be Americans." Well, we talk about the left eating themselves all the time. Mm-hmm. This did not go well with leftists and progressives. So some of the responses to that, Sualia, whatever. Nah, I didn't stop talking to people because they were Trump supporters. I did so because they showed themselves to be racists.
Of course, sexist homophobes.
Benny Diego, can't do it. Trump let us know who our friends really are. Life is short, and I don't have time for racists, bigots, and homophobes, traitors, climate deniers, and anti-healthcare and education, building walls and tearing families apart and locking them in cages. Ain't nobody got time for that. I mean, that one just covered it. Covered it all. Yeah. Nobody voted for Trump because they want smaller government and better trade situations for the states and increased jobs and lower taxes. Nobody voted for that. They're just all bigots and racists and yeah. So yeah, it's just you can't get any help from your own side when you even try to be semi-reasonable and celebrate a holiday together. Yep. So.
Any other ones?
Oh, last one. Love you, Stephen King. This is Mike Lochner. Love you, Stephen King, but this tweet shows your straight white male privilege. This is not a time for hugs. Hashtag resist. Please.
Oh, boy. Well,
it's ridiculous.
This, I don't know if this was on Twitter or Instagram or something like that. John Stamos.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves Full House, obviously.
Yeah. And everyone loves Uncle Jesse.
Uncle Jesse, yeah. He wrote, this was in regards to his newborn son, in regards to American values. He wrote, I'm going to teach you to always celebrate this day as our nation's founders wanted us to, together as a great American family, united in love of our country. Billy boy, you were blessed to be born in the greatest country in the world, and that makes me the luckiest father in the world.
Yeah, I just said a couple of stories ago, the jackpot that you hit just being born here.
Yep.
And they don't even realize that. At least John Stamos realized it for his son.
Anything else going on out there at all?
No. Yeah. Back from vacation.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Well, listen, I really appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. We actually had a lot of interactions, had a lot of people tuning in.
Yep.
We could actually see the numbers as it was going and everything, and it was a good one. Don't forget this little thing right over here, because you can like and share the podcast no matter when you watch it, and I would encourage you to do that. But listen, thank you again for tuning in. If you were watching the podcast, find us on Facebook, The Generation Y Conservative. Hit like and get notifications so that you can interact with us when we go live. Also find us on Twitter at Gen Y Conservative without the E on the end. Hit follow there. On YouTube, The Generation Y Conservative. Subscribe, hit the bell notification to know when we release and publish videos. And if you're interested in the audio-only version of the podcast, because you can't stand looking at our beautiful faces and get jealous, you can always find us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and the Google Play Store. In the meantime, happy 4th of July month, 2 months, 60 days until the crown finds out, as we snicker. Happy 4th of July week. Have a great night, and God bless America. Have a good one, guys. See you next week.